What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise Tank Rise show. I lost my touch. I always used to come up with intros, incorporate the word tank, and I'm also literally listening to my own stream right now. Eric, we are taking the stream in honor of I'm taking the stream in honor of the Blazers tanking this game. So let me fix that. How are you doing?
Your volume is hella low, says everybody. Hella low. Wow. That was muffled.
Alrighty. You love how well I tanked that intro, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could hear my stream playing, but yeah, absolutely tanked that intro in honor of your Portland Trailblazers. In honor of your Portland Trailblazers. Shout out to BetUS TV. We're going to talk about how the Blazers tanked this game. Just when I thought the Blazers lost their touch, Eric, just when I thought they lost their way, they show us that it's in their DNA. They still know how to tank. And I am tanking the post-game score. I'm tanking the intro. I'm literally tanking everything. And you're tanking with whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Alrighty. What's going on, everybody? Hopefully you guys are having a good Wednesday night. Hopefully you appreciate our dedication. I've never even heard that ringtone from Eric before. It's just meant to be. The Blazers tanking, us tanking, it's just meant to be.
I finally decided I didn't want the stupid generic ringtones anymore, so I updated them.
That's not generic.
That's a Zelda little soundbite thing. Yeah.
Nice. I'm sure
Chase got it in chat. Yeah, there we go.
A couple people in chat that appreciate that. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good night. So the Blazers, let me fix this score, okay? We're just tanking the intro. We're not tanking the rest of the show. It's going to be a good show for you. It's members night. We have a members only call in that is live. We have a members only Q&A that is live. Is the volume evened out pretty well? Let me know. I don't even know. Honestly, like, all of that was accidental. All of that was completely accidental. I don't know why my mic was so low. I've never even made that mistake before. So but it's very fitting. It's very fitting. And I could have played it off if I wanted to, because this Blazer team really tanked that. They really tanked that overtime. You know, no Sharp, no Camara in overtime. Camara misses a game-winning layup in regulation that he should have hit to win the game. And the Blazers find a way to lose, which is good because Phoenix right now is finding a way to lose, and the Blazers are tied with them, unfortunately.
Was it really tanking, or did we just get really lucky?
I mean, we sat Sharp and Camara.
No, I mean, like,
and Sharp had a wide open three, he missed. Camara had a wide open lay-in, basically, and he missed. Right? Yeah. So
But they also had a wide open three they airballed.
Yeah, it was two tanking teams doing what they do best. And Portland, at least tonight, is still the king of tanking. Still the king of tanking, man. When we want to, we find a way. And it's beautiful.
Rainey says, do we have a first-round pick? Yes, we do, as long as we didn't make the playoffs, which we cannot mathematically do. So we're currently in 9th position, I believe. We're tied for 9th.
We're about to be tied for 9th once Phoenix loses to OKC. Phoenix was actually up at halftime against OKC, and it was close here near the end of the third quarter. OKC's gone on a run, though. OKC's up 12, unfortunately. So,
and
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I don't know if Gray Hughes will show up since it's a loss, but I was talking to my wife about how get ready to Venmo him $50 or whatever, because
you're gonna have your wife pay your bet. See, that's what that's what Desmond should have did.
So with Venmo, we can only you can only link one Venmo account to a bank account, and we have a joint account, so I can't link my own account, if that makes sense. So like we just share a Venmo account, if that makes sense.
I believe you.
Like, I can't start a second Venmo account under my name and have it linked to a same account, because our bank account's already linked to her Venmo. So
I believe you.
Okay.
It sounds like it makes sense. We'll go with that.
Also, I started having back spasms earlier in the day, and yeah, my back's hurt me really bad right now. So I'm trying to fight through it. But I'm sitting a little weird in my chair here.
Nobody would have noticed. Dude, I was getting side aches trying to fall asleep last night, but I played basketball last night, and after playing the whole game on Saturday, followed by playing yesterday, dude, extremely sore, extremely beat up, but we're pushing through it. We're pushing through it because just because we tanked the intro doesn't mean we're gonna tank the rest of the show. You'll get our best effort from here on out. We promise. We promise. But well, you'll get mine. I can't speak for Eric. I don't know what Eric's gonna be up to this stream. But yeah, it's game 80. It's game 80. 2 games left of the season. Final road game. As far as a recap, man, Shaedon Sharpe was 6 for 12 from 3, which is cool to see him make some threes. He shot 50% from 3. He also shot 50% from the free throw line. I talked about this team tanking. I didn't mention how Sharpe missed 3 out of 4 free throws in crunch time in regulation to make this even possible for this game to go to overtime. Like, he carried this team, had this team up, and then at the end of the game, it's like, the tank, it comes out of everyone, man. It comes out of everyone. Shaedon Sharpe misses 3 out of 4 free throws. Camara misses a lay-in. He was 6 for 18 tonight. He was still a +8 just because the defensive impact. Like, Sharpe and Camara were +8s, and then everybody else was a negative in this game. That's basically your ball game, right? Because it was a tie game at the end of regulation. Then going into overtime, the Blazers sit Sharpe and sit Camara. Sharpe played 35 minutes. Camara played 33 minutes. The Blazers, played them like it was almost like with the players they had, they were definitely trying to win this game. But then, they didn't pull a Chicago Bulls game where they sat Camara and Sharpe the final 3 minutes to make sure they lost that game. They played them through regulation. Camara and Sharpe, just after being the best 2 players on the Blazers clearly throughout the entire game, even with Camara struggling from the field, those guys had some rough plays to make this an OT game, and then they get sat. If they both played in overtime, I feel like we're talking about a Blazer win. Mm-hmm. You have Keontae George getting hot and hitting 2 clutch threes down the stretch. That seems like his type of game where he's quiet all game, missing shots all game, and then hits 2 clutch ones. After
he threw a horrible pass the possession before and almost won us the game. But what did you think of? Like, obviously, we all know what we were doing in the overtime, but what did you think of the decision in the middle of the fourth quarter to put Tamani and Sharpe back into the game? Do you think that?
I don't know, dude. Like, what does this team want? I don't know. The 35-minute restriction, though, looks like it's a legitimate thing, Eric.
Yeah, they're sure. That's like manifesting it to fixing it to make it look like that was true.
Yeah, where does the call come from? I have no idea. Like, who makes the call to pull those guys out of OT, right? Like, I don't think that's a Chauncey thing. So it's like, and it's not. I don't know. Cronin was there in person. Maybe Cronin was yelling from the stands. If you want any chance of being re-signed this offseason, you better sit them. Maybe Cronin was shouting that, although we probably would have heard it on the broadcast because the arena wasn't the fullest, right? Although, I don't know if you would have heard Cronin over Evan Turner, who was interesting to listen to all night. Made the game, I don't know, brought the energy to the mic. That was, I don't know, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Yeah. It was interesting. Kept this type of game fresh, you know what I mean? And the Blazers have done a good job of getting in touch with their former players. I do like that they've made that a priority recently. They had the thing with Greg Oden earlier this year, and then Evan Turner and Brandon Roy. I forget when it was, but there was something with him. Like, this is a priority for this Blazers organization, and I respect it. This is a good thing.
Unlike what Clyde Drexler thinks.
Yeah, well, it's for everyone but Clyde, I guess. I don't know. But regardless, happy they lost this game because I want the Blazers just simply have 9th best odds and the 9th pick. Okay, I don't want to deal with a freaking coin flip with Phoenix. It looks like Phoenix is going to lose. Maybe we do a tankathon before they lose and then a tankathon after they lose. Because why not 2 tankathons on a night that the Blazers tanked, right? Maybe we can move up in one of them. So let's just pull up that picture. I mean, it's the most relevant thing right now.
You know, Phoenix still had a chance to make the play-in.
Yeah, well, not anymore. They had no KD tonight.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over.
Let's see. Dallas just, because they lost tonight, Dallas just had to lose their last 2 games, and Phoenix had to win their last 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If Portland won this game, they would have been tied with Miami. Right? So if Portland won, this is why it was a very important loss. They would have been tied for 10th and 11th with Miami, right? Instead, it's like, okay, they're going to be tied for 9th and 10th, so 1 spot higher with the chance to get 9th still. If they won this game with Phoenix about to lose to OKC, Portland would have had no chance of getting 9th best odds by themselves, or maybe in general, because I think Phoenix has a good chance of losing the last 2 games. So that's why this was a very important game for the Blazers to lose in terms of this tanking picture. I still just wish they found a way to lose to San Antonio, because then there would only be a half game difference here. And I don't know if San Antonio plays tonight or is playing. San Antonio right now is playing at Golden State. They're down 5 with 6 minutes, 17 seconds left. Now, that doesn't really matter for the Blazers because they're not catching the Spurs unless the Spurs win their last 3 games and the Blazers lose the last 2. That's why it would have just been nice to have lost that San Antonio game, but this was a good loss just to make sure you didn't catch Miami, just to make sure you didn't pass Phoenix. I mean, why the hell the Blazers are tied with a super team, I don't know. But Phoenix has been a disaster all year. And it's funny because I went into Gabe's chat. If you guys don't know, we're friends with a Suns channel that live streams during games. I went to his chat, Eric. I said, I never thought I'd say this, but you guys are ruining our tank. Never thought I'd say that, but that's where we're at right now. We're rooting for Phoenix to win so we don't pass them or don't tie with them in terms of lottery odds. And it's not like it'd be a tie with Phoenix. Houston gets their pick regardless. So they're going to lose to OKC. They're down 15 with 6 minutes, 58 seconds left in the fourth quarter. 115-100, OKC is winning that game.
Yeah, I think if the Spurs win this game, it might... I think what we want is we obviously don't want Golden State to not need to win on Friday. I think most scenarios have them needing a win with how close the seeding is. So especially if they lose this game, that's pretty much a must-win for them to avoid the play-in. So I think we're okay there. We should be all right there.
Yeah, and we will take a look at the standings after the last game goes final, because right now you got Denver playing, you got Golden State playing, you got the Clippers playing. The Clippers game versus the Rockets is the game that's going to end last. There's 1 minute, 31 seconds left in the third quarter. So after that game is final, I'll make standings graphic. We'll put it up on the screen. We'll take a look at the Western Conference. Because what's meaningful for the Blazers, they face the Warriors and then they face the Lakers. You want both those teams to have something to play for in those final 2 games so they can make sure they take care of business and take care of the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers should not get another win. You should not lose your bet to freaking Gray. And the Blazers should at least be tied for 9th best odds.
Sorry, you know what's crazy? So I have that bet, right? So for those that don't know, 35 wins for the Blazers. I win $50. If they win one more game, I owe Gray Hughes $50 because that was the over-under 35.5. My other bet, Tori, with LT on the Atlanta Hawks, they are a half a game ahead of the Bulls right now for that 8th spot. So it's coming. Both of my bets are coming down to this last.
Yeah, basically you lose if they're in the first round of the playoffs, right?
No, we just bet regular season top 8. Yep. So if they fall out of that 8th spot, the Bulls pass them, I win that bet too. If they stay in the 8th spot, I lose that one.
Yeah. Yeah. The Blazers tried to do you a favor when they beat them.
Yeah.
But
it did.
Yeah. All right, let's simulate this before things change with Phoenix, all right? And we'll be able to see if their loss today is really going to mess things up for us, you know? It definitely lowers our odds. At 14, we got Atlanta via Sacramento. At 13, we got Dallas. At 12, we got Chicago. At 11, we got Miami. At 10, we have the Houston Rockets via the Phoenix Suns. At 9, we have your Portland Trailblazers. 8, we have Brooklyn. I don't know who moves up. At 7, we have New Orleans, so Philadelphia moves up. You got Philadelphia, Toronto, and San Antonio. Ooh, ugly. All right, at 6, we got Charlotte, and at 5, we got Utah, so you also have Washington. At 4, we have Washington. At 3, we have San Antonio. At 2, we have Philadelphia. And at 1, we have Toronto. Toronto captures the flag. Doesn't it feel like 8 moves up a lot more often than 9?
Yeah. What was it last year or the year before? It wasn't last year because we hardly ever moved up outside of the first one last year, right? But wasn't there a year where like one of the spots we're in like always seemed to move up, and then if we changed out of that spot, we never moved up?
Yeah.
I feel like that was it 7 or 6 or something?
I don't know what it was, but yeah, at the end of the day, the odds are the odds. But it is funny how San Antonio's moved up a lot recently. It's making me jealous of them being in 8th. I'm kind of like, you know, I'm rooting, of course, for the Blazers to have the best odds, but I'm also at the point where I'm resigning myself to them not moving up. And, like, I'm going to go into lottery day without even, like, thinking about that. Like, I'll be nervous, of course, when they're revealing the picks. Like, maybe we could. But I'm really just going to try not to buy into that being a possibility so that I'm not disappointed when inevitably they don't move up. Is how I'm approaching that. Is that a good way to approach that?
Say it again.
I'm going into lottery day, like, not even... Of course, the Blazers will have a chance to move up, but I'm going into lottery day without even, like, basically trying not to acknowledge that they have any chance to move up and just accepting that they won't move up. Instead of being disappointed when they don't.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to with 9th best odds or 10th or whatever we finish at because, I mean, it's not like the past few years where we had a lot better percentage chance, so it was disappointing. I think, yes, it'll be disappointing seeing them at 9 or 10, but I do agree. It's like we have this guy in our group chat, Tori AJ, who gets all worked up, and Sneggy's getting all worked up in there. Like people sometimes get a little too crazy over small statistical probabilities, and I agree. Like, that it's not worth doing that this year.
I mean, I'm rooting for them to lose, of course. It would have been frustrating for them to win this game.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because of the situation they're in. I mean, the 9th pick is better than the 11th pick, right? So I want them to have as high of a pick as possible, as great of odds as possible. So I'm rooting for them to lose. I'm rooting for them to tank the rest of the season. But I'm going into lottery day just trying to accept our fate, man. Because I feel like it's not our year, man. Like, it's not meant to be in terms of us being in the top 4. That's why we're sitting here with 9th best odds, and that's why Cronin got an extension, which we'll talk about a little bit more maybe on this post-game show, and we'll talk about coaches that are available too. But like, it's just not meant to be. It just doesn't feel meant to be. So, you know, still you got to control your own destiny, right? You got to give yourself the best odds possible, but doesn't feel like it's meant to be, but I'd love to be. I would love to be wrong. Absolutely love to be wrong. Like, getting Cooper Flagg would be absolutely amazing, not only as a Blazer fan, but also as a Blazer content creator. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. But anyway,
you guys don't know the league chooses who wins the draft.
I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm just about to start, like, banning people that try and say the lottery's rigged.
Yeah.
We're not going to do the tinfoil hat, crappy conspiracy theory bull crap here, all right? I know some of you probably like to wear tinfoil hats, but they literally have an independent firm that comes in and the process is fully transparent, and they have representatives from each team there to make sure that it's fully transparent. And this is all well documented, okay? So
What? Why would the league want Wemby in San Antonio? Like, what?
Yeah.
Small market team. Like, why would they want that?
Yep.
And if they want, if Flag ends up going there, why would they want Flag there too? Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Put your two.
Whatever team has a star
stars
player
on the
that's about
same-
to. I mean, this is just the crap we're dealing with. This is not worth much of a conversation, but the comment in chat says whatever team has a star player about to ask for a trade wins the draft. Okay, San Antonio, that does not apply to them. Detroit, that when they got Cade, that also didn't apply to them. Like
People say so.
people just say stuff. Yeah, so you just take off the tinfoil hat. It's wrapped a little too tightly around your noggin. All right. And
Yeah, why didn't we win the draft then?
Yeah, when Dame was about to ask for a trade.
Yeah.
Huh. Why did San Antonio win it then? Because they didn't have a star that was about to ask for a trade. I mean, anyway.
Paulo and the Magic too, says Aromancer. Yeah.
Yeah, like what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Anyway, I hate just dumb conspiracy theories, man. Like I despise it.
But we got Scoot. Yeah, so the league.
Let's not go up this tree too fast. We could sit here and talk in circles about this stupid crap all show. I do not want to do that. All right. Is there anything you want to break down from this game?
From this game, I mean, it was cool to see Shea get his 37. Finally broke that 36-point mark. Really wanted him to get 40, like we've been talking about with Denny too. A lot of these games, but glad he didn't play the overtime to get it.
Yeah.
I thought Repair had some nice moments, but also some moments that kind of showed what you've been talking about the last few games. Thibault, I thought, played pretty good. Yeah, overall, I thought the defense was kind of crappy, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because the Jazz were down 2 with 7 seconds left after Sharp missed 2 free throws. Okay, Sharp could have sealed the game. He missed 2 free throws. Went 5 for 10 from the free throw line. He's not good. Okay, at least he got there 10 times, I guess, but 5 for 10, not good. The Jazz inbound to Filipowski. Who was Filipowski guarded by, and who let Filipowski literally just walk to the rim for a wide open dunk?
It was Thibault, and the broadcast tried to explain that by saying he was trying to guard 2 people, even though he wasn't. But yeah, he got fooled by the fake handoff.
He bites on everything, dude.
They probably thought they were going for 3, so I kind of get it. I thought they were going to go for a 3 to win it as well, but yeah. Luckily for us,
I mean, like you switch out. You could be ready to switch out, but you wait until he hands it off. Like you got to know, big men there love to fake handoffs in that situation. So you're guarding Filipowski. You can put the ball on the floor a little bit. It's just like the guy who always bites on everything, bites on something, and gives up a wide open dunk because of it in the final seconds. And it's like, all right, if we're actually trying to win games in the future and we go to an all defensive lineup, I mean, he's good in chaos and playing passing lanes and stuff, but
he was going for one of those block shot 3-pointers.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it was just like, all right, man. Listen, I was happy about it. So good job. It was just like, all right, there's another example. I mean, what are we doing? He went on a run offensively. He dunks on, I forget who he even dunked on. He dunks on someone. That was hype. That was cool. He dunks on someone, then comes down, and Bryce Sensabaugh just lets him walk into a 3, just like dares him to shoot. So Matisse just like dribble, pull up, bringing the ball up the floor, and shoots a 3, cashes it, and then like points down at the floor like, why are you giving me this much space? And the next possession down, attacks a closeout because it was like, all right, Tease taking over this game offensively. Yeah. You know, that was a cool little run. Cool, and he had 6 assists. nice. Maybe he got another one. Let me view the freaking box score here. Let's see. Yeah, he had 6 assists, which is cool. Making some plays. Good offensive game from him, and then just that last defensive possession is like, I'm not surprised.
Well, I mean, we missed 3 out of 4 free throws to even give them a chance to win. If we make some free throws down the stretch, it's over anyway.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he understood the mission, though. Which, if he understood the mission, make this game seem as like we're trying to win as hard as possible. Go dunk on someone, and then make sure you lose at the end. Perfect.
I know you're joking, but for people who don't know that, like,
they can believe I'm not. It's fine.
Possible for
they can believe
the players that they're not going to do that.
They can believe I'm being 110% literal. All right, that's fine.
Arrow says, I know it was Micah Potter because someone said that he sent Potter to Azkaban.
Sent Potter.
A reference you would get.
That is a reference I get.
Yes, there you go.
That is a reference I get. Yeah, that's basically your game recap. I mean, I don't really have much to say, to be honest. I'll say this about Tamani. He has to finish better. Like, he's made some improvements, but he needs to get stronger. I don't know, but, like, he's strong defensively. It doesn't even seem like he's not strong. It just seems like he's off balance too much.
He kind of flips the ball too much instead of going. Like, when he goes right to the rim and, like, finger rolls it in or dunks it, like, it's usually pretty good. Outside, he tried to end someone. I forgot who he went over the back of to try and slam. Yeah. But outside of that, I don't know. Sometimes he just kind of throws it at the rim, and I'd like him to try and attack it. I mean, we talk about this with some of our more athletic players too, to try and dunk it or at least try to get to your hand as close to the rim instead of throwing up little shots down below. And I feel like he has a tendency to just kind of flip it. I think that last shot, though, he got kind of stuck in between laying it in or off the backboard and kind of messed up both. It was kind of a good trickeration on the play call, though.
Yeah, it was a good set.
Kind of like that. Yeah.
It was a good set. It was a good set. Why is he fading away? Like, go strong. Go to the glass at least. Like, if you're not going to go right to the cup, go to the glass at least. There was some layup he missed where it's just like there's a little bit of contact and it made it so like he couldn't jump at all. I just think maybe it's lower body needs to get stronger, or he has to figure out ways to like create contact and stay on balance like Denny does. If Denny could teach him any part of Denny's like contact creation and finishing ability, Tamani would be super special. And I don't know, it's not like Tamani's the worst ball handler. He's not the best ball handler, but I just feel like his problems, like he can get downhill a little bit and he can get to spots where if he created some contact, he could use his length to finish. And it's just like, he just has these moments where he's a little off balance when he's driving if there's any sort of contact. He doesn't really seek to create contact on his drives. He doesn't really use his body enough on his drives. And he needs to get a little bit more creative as a finisher if he's going to be contacted averse, right? So it's just something for him to work on long term to become a better finisher. His three-point shot, he's 37% this year. His defense is great, right? So 3-and-D, and he has flashes of like putting the ball on the floor in a straight line drive if he's run off the line and getting to the rim. Like if he's in space, he's fine attacking the rim. It's just the stuff when it's like, all right, this dude ran you off the line but didn't completely overblow his closeout, so he's still on your hip. Can you finish in those situations consistently? And that's been something that's been a struggle of his throughout his career, and I think that's the next evolution, is getting better, dealing with that, and then maybe tapping into the passing ability a little bit more, because you got a lot of guys in the NBA that can make threes now, so there's a lot of 3-and-D guys. Almost none of them are as good defensively as Tamani, right? Tamani is super special defensively. But you're always looking for guys that are 3-and-D and then can do a little bit more so that defenses have to respect them even more. And I think that's the next step for Tamani is really tapping into some of that playmaking, but then also being able to drive and finish through a little bit of contact or finish in traffic.
Keldon Johnson just made a layup with 3.1 seconds. Spurs up 2.
We're going to end up in a 3-way tie with San Antonio, Phoenix, and ourselves.
Harrison Barnes foul.
The thing is, like, we ain't catching the Spurs. I don't think the Spurs are winning out. I don't know. Yeah. Somebody tell me who they play the last couple of games. But by the way, we have a members-only Q&A live in the chat. Okay, so if you're a channel member, you can ask us a Q&A question. We'll answer member Q&As only. Okay, if you're a non-member and want to ask a question that you really want us to answer, just become a channel member. The cheapest membership is like $2. So hit the join button to become a channel member, and you can ask a question in that members only Q&A. We're going to answer that, and also we will have our members only call-in. Okay, so if any of you members, we just want to give members this opportunity because you guys are channel members. So it's a way to reward you guys. It's members night, right? So if you want to call into the show and you're a channel member, go to the call-in in our Discord. That is also live. Let's
read off. We had a member message.
Yeah, we got to read off member messages on Members Night, of course.
Yeah, Chris S. was member for 49 months. Thank you, Chris. Good to see you in here like always. Beautiful tank job. And Matisse made the game worth watching. Shaebwe is an interesting player. What do you think of him?
You can answer that. I'm opening my window.
I mean, he's the type player, you can count on him for rebounds. He can finish around the hoop, but other than that, he's got a little bit of presence around the rim, I guess. Not a ton, but yeah, pretty much just a rebounder in the NBA. I definitely think it's like a fringe NBA player type. He's fine to be on a roster, but I don't think it's like someone that's going to be like a rotation player on a good team.
Alrighty. Got hot in here, man. Appreciate the member message. Yeah, Shiwai just energy big. He's just a little undersized for not being skilled. Talk about Sharp more. If you were a channel member, maybe.
Now Harrison Barnes hits the game winner.
Yeah. Game winning. Was it a game winning 3?
Yeah.
Now.
At the buzzer.
Wow.
The Warriors tied it, and then yeah.
I mean, that gives Warriors something to play for. That's good for us. It's good for the Blazers. The Warriors are going to be trying to win. So, man, if we could have just lost to the Spurs, we wouldn't be worried about Phoenix as much, and we'd be talking about how we'd be tied for 8th. So, that game hurts, man. That game hurts. Winning that game hurts. It's just like, if you tanked in April, you won 3 games in April. If you tanked in April, we're talking about being alone in 8th right now.
Mm-hmm. This puts the Grizzlies back ahead of them for 6th. They're back in the play-in after this game. Yeah. Lakers are starting to creep up a little bit. I really hope that game at the end of the season they're not locked into 3rd.
I really hope they're not either. They have the tiebreaker with like all those teams that are a game behind them. So if they win their next game,
they're a game and a half ahead of all of them now. I think hopefully there's just too many of them to. Yeah, just gotta hope some of those teams win.
They were a game ahead going into tonight, so like it just depends on other games. Like if they win their next game, they're locked in. If they have the tiebreaker with all those teams, which is what a Lakers fan told me.
Yeah. Houston, if they beat beat Houston next game, they're locked into 3.
Yeah. So we got to hope that Houston beats them. Houston rested all their guys today, so hopefully they're trying next game.
I thought... I guess so.
If the Blazers, imagine the Lakers are locked in, they're going to tank, and the Blazers play, Avdia and Simons and... You know how pissed I'd be? That'd be infuriating.
And then we pass Phoenix and get 11th.
Yeah, and tie with Miami, and we're tied 10th
and then we lose
11th.
the tiebreaker, and fans are like, what do you care about a stupid coin flip? It doesn't matter.
And then we get the 11th pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's disgusting. And then we take Thomas Sorber at 11.
It's a bad movie, says, so if it came down to Blazers winning to keep them out of 3, should the Blazers tank or beat the Lakers?
I don't care.
You can't worry about beating the Lakers in a meaningless game. If it meant anything to the Blazers, sure, but a meaningless game, you don't beat them just to keep them out of 3.
Yes. Yeah. The Blazers tanked today. They're on their mission to try and maximize what is left of their draft odds. So just finish the mission. Just finish the mission. It's that simple. You took some steps forward. They finished at 35-47 this year. I mean, that record's not too bad. You win. If they tried to win this game, they'd be a 36-win team, maybe 37 wins if they beat Chicago. You're only talking about having to win 4 more games next year to be 500 at least. So you're on the precipice of getting to 500. Now, something about this season, Eric, just feels like maybe they aren't as good as a 35-win team. And maybe it's just because they had all their success in an 11-game stretch where they won 10, right? Part of it to me is I heard recently they're 10-28 against above 500 teams. They beat up on a lot of bad teams and they lose to pretty much every good team, is how the season has gone. So it's all right, how good are you really if you cannot beat above 500 teams? 10-28 is a pretty bad record still against above 500 teams. So
they're 12-28 according to ESPN.
12-28. Okay.
I think there's teams that are kind of moving. It's who
Changes.
It is.
Who?
It's Orlando.
Because they just moved above 500.
They just moved back to 500. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's kind of just been the recipe of their season. You're always going to struggle more against the better teams, of course. Of course. It just feels like maybe that's a little too much of a thing. I don't know. Chat, you can let me know what you think, but it's how far away are they from being a 500 team against above 500 teams? Because that's how you at least get to 6, 7 seed, right? Is you win half your games against teams that are above 500, and then you win a lot of the games against the teams below 500, and that's how you end up 10 games above 500, right? Or 8 games above 500. But you got to be more competitive against the above 500 teams, especially in the West where a lot of teams are going to be above 500. They're going to play 2 more above 500 teams to end the season, so that's going to be, 42 games? Got to find a way to beat better teams next year. What is missing for them to beat better teams next year? I think it's on the offensive side of the ball. So we'll see how they try and address that this offseason to improve their shooting. They're still one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league. Now, it makes sense to trade Ant, so that might take a hit, but can you replace it in a way that fits better with your own court? I don't know. So that's a big question this offseason. And then that's really it. I think that's really what's held them back. And then just being a little bit more consistent defensively. They've been really good defensively the past 2.5 months, but I think they have to. Some nights they really struggle to defend against good teams. They switch everything and just get hunted in mismatches and have defensive letdowns. So I think it's just becoming a little bit more consistent defensively. A team as young as this wasn't going to be consistently good defensively, right? That was not necessarily the expectation. The expectation was be average, and they are average this year. They are very, very average. Now, they were 15th going into this game in adjusted defensive rating. That'll take a hit because you just give up 133 to the Jazz. So, yeah, now they're 16th, right? But they're average. So they met expectations on the defensive side of the ball. They're 23rd offensively. That's what has to improve, because if you're a bottom 7-8 team offensively, it's hard to be consistently competitive against above 500 teams, because most above 500 teams can have good nights on both sides of the floor.
Yeah, and real quick, Airmaster said that the Spurs' last 2 games are winnable, so maybe we have a chance to tie them. But to your point, yeah, I agree. They have to find a way to improve their offense, whether that's better sets, if they have a similar personnel to what they have this year, or that's, getting a player that helps make that side of the ball better. That's yet to be seen. But for me, this is why I'm kind of worried about the whole path we're on. And we'll talk about the Cronin thing later. But it's like next year, if you win 35 games again, I think everyone's disappointed. And then we're also stuck in the same position where we're like towards the back of the lottery. But you could also make the case that it could be like a better 35 win season, and so
yeah, like what happens if they're more injured, that sort of thing.
Yeah, or like they play better against better teams or whatever. There's teams that are ahead of them in the standings still. So yeah, I don't know. We talked about this at length about how we're worried about being stuck in this kind of range where you're not good enough to be a for sure playoff team, but you're also not bad enough to get a high pick. And so, that's the challenge for this team, is not getting stuck in that rut.
Yeah. And I don't like that the organization might have this pressure this offseason, because that's how you make an aggressive move too early and get stuck with a team that doesn't have enough assets to get out of the 6th through 8th seed range. The organization wanted to be in the position where they were competitive enough to get more fans in the arena, to get more eyeballs on TV, more fan engagement. I don't really know if the fan base is all that much more engaged, though, at least just the past month. And we can use like stream numbers, I guess, to judge engagement, right? Like they had a big win earlier in the season. Stream did really, really well. But since that like 11 game stretch where they won 10 out of 11, it just kind of feels like it's slowly trickled back to what we're used to with this team losing a lot of games, which is fine because they didn't make the play-in, right? So it's not necessarily like a critique point. It's more so, all right, so you won more games this year. Were fans really that much more invested down the stretch? A little bit, but how much?
The Denver game a couple weeks ago wasn't bad.
Denver game was the game I think I was thinking of where that was really, really good, right? So, but my point is, all right, so you took that step. Fans were a little bit more engaged, but what next? Because if you have another season like this next year, like you said, it's going to be, man, you guys didn't take a step forward. And fans down the stretch, in March, if it's just like this, how engaged are they going to be? How interested are they going to be? So if you're the organization, it's kind of like, all right, well, we need to make sure we take a step forward next year. And I am scared of this team having that mindset, because it's kind of the same mindset that the Sacramento Kings had when it was like, we just need to make the playoffs and get that monkey off our back.
Pelicans too.
And so, the Kings got their first round series against the Warriors, which they couldn't even win, even though they had home court advantage. And then now look at them. They've completely fallen off the face of the earth. Like, they're now
traded Fox. Yeah.
Had to trade Fox, right? Like, but they were not good enough. They were clearly not good enough to win a series after that. So that's my worry with this organization going into the offseason, is you wanted to be in this position, but now that you're in this position, it's not necessarily the easiest position to be in, because you still have to remain patient, and you have to hope that this young core takes another legitimate step to where you're even better than this next year. And at least your young core was relatively healthy this year. The players that you missed due to injury weren't really players that I think were helping you win basketball games. Jeremy Grant wasn't helping you win basketball games. DeAndre Ayton was DeAndre Ayton this year. You're missing Scoot down the stretch, some guys down the stretch, but you've had a relatively healthy season. So it's like, can you even count on that to happen again, number one? And number two, it's I think easier for the organization to maybe go out and trade for a Sabonis or trade for a guy that they can get to make sure that they're like an 8th seed and a couple games above 500 next year. But that is the wrong type of move. I think it's tougher for the organization to just sit back and let the young core continue to develop, because I think there is that downside where if your health luck isn't as good or guys don't really take a huge step forward, that you could have a repeat of this season. And what'll keep fans engaged is continuous progress, right? And or postseason basketball. And the only step forward from this is to at least make the play-in next year.
Yeah, like Miles Martin says in chat, the play-in false hope grift was pretty good for business, I think.
Yeah.
And that's if we're in like a play-in race all next year, or expecting it from the season, and the people are watching the standings and stuff. Every time we win, it'll bring that excitement. But I want to touch upon something. It's a bad movie is saying. Wouldn't he was saying? You mean like this year is in the total wins, or the amount of extra wins from last year to this, and this to the next? Because if you project that out, we should be around 46 wins next year. I would be okay with that.
I think it's easier to take a step from 22 wins to 35 wins or whatever than from like 35 wins to 46.
Absolutely. It becomes progressively harder to jump, and especially like a 50-win team, if you go from 35 to 50, it's not, you shouldn't expect them to win 65 games the next year,
Yeah, like if we use that logic, how many games are we expecting the Pistons to win next year?
Right. So
75?
Yeah. So you got to keep in mind, when you're really bad, it is easier to get back to mediocrity, especially when you have all these teams, when there's a draft, because like last year, it felt like it was easier to tank because, no one was, people wanted the top picks, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like you were doing everything in your power to lose every game because you had to have a chance at Ricochet or whoever the first pick was going to end up being. So I think this year it felt like it was easier for teams that wanted to try and win games to win some of these games, and I think I wouldn't really call it luck. I think they did have some good stretches of basketball, so I'm not like completely dismissing it or anything, but I find it hard to believe they're just gonna run this back with like Chauncey and Cronin and not make a huge move unless our draft pick just really pops right away. I don't know how they get much better than this. They could improve by a few wins and make the play-in for sure. That's definitely a possibility, but I don't see them jumping from here to like the 5 seed or something next year.
Just look at how good the 8th seed is. Okay, let me look at this. How many games behind are the Blazers of the 8th seed right now? They are currently 11.5 games behind the 8th seed. So if we're just talking about being a top 8 team and in the playoffs next year, they took a big step forward this year. You're talking about having to make up an 11.5 game deficit just to be tied for the 8th seed. Just to be tied for the 8th seed. So it's like, that's a lot of ground to make up. I don't know. It's a lot of ground to make up. And that's what worries me about this offseason. That's why I find this offseason fascinating, is like, can you make up that ground with internal development? And if you don't make up that ground with internal development, but you go all in on the core, like, How does it look? Is it going to be, man, we didn't make any progress? So, what's the easiest way to work around that is just to try to make sure you get a 7th or an 8th seed next year, but trying and aiming for that, you're shortcutting yourself and you're not setting yourself up to contend down the line if you're using your assets on guys that can't be the number one player on a really good team, right? So that's the tough position that the Blazers are in. I don't think they can run it back, but I also think they shouldn't be too aggressive in trying to make the leap so that they're an 8th seed next year, because that shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be to contend coming out of this rebuild at some point. So it's you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And it's just funny because the Blazers wanted to take this step and be in this position, and it's a good thing that some of their young players have developed. But it's also a tough position to be in. I cannot understate that enough.
And Cronin himself has said it's easy to get to this point, but improving on this part is the hard part.
Yeah. So that's why this offseason was the perfect litmus test for Cronin. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Okay, let's just have that conversation now. And then we'll take your calls if we have anybody that wants to call in, members only call in. Join the Discord, join the call in. And if no members want to call in, then we'll just open it up to everybody because members aren't taking advantage of it. But before we talk about Cronin, I want to talk about Chauncey. Okay? I want to talk about Chauncey. So, with him tanking a game like this, I don't know what the deal was between Chauncey and the front office. I don't know who's making the call. I am slightly worried that the Blazers are going to just pick up his option and go into next year with him. Now, shout out to BetUS TV because I just wanted to know what are the chances that Chauncey's the next coach fired during the regular season. Now, there's only 2 games left, so I guess it would have to happen before the end of the regular season. Doubt that happens. I think Chauncey would have had to say, no, I'm going to play Shaedon Sharpe 48 minutes in this game.
I was just thinking, Tori.
What are you thinking?
How much money could you have made on Mike Malone betting Mike Malone is the next coach fired
I don't know.
A few days ago?
Yeah, Mike Malone obviously would not have had high odds. But what are the odds? What are the true odds? What's the percentage that Chauncey is brought back next year? Chat, leave your percentage in the live chat. Say it's 50% chance he's back, 60% chance he's back, 40% chance he's back. I think it's 50-50. I think it's purely 50-50. I can see the Blazers going either direction. I think you still need to move on from him. But this organization right now just feels like they don't really want to shake things up unless it's a clear move that'll make them better. Like trading for Dedi Avdija. If it's not going to clearly make them better, I feel like they're not going to do it. Right? Trading Jeremy Grant wasn't going to clearly make them any better. He's still on this freaking team. Trading Anthony Simons wasn't going to clearly make you any better, even though you have 2 young guards behind him. He's still on this team. Right? So, does firing Chauncey Billups clearly make this team better next year? Not necessarily. So, if I had to pick, my gut says that they do what they do and kick that can down the road. I say it's purely 50-50. Maybe I say it's 51% chance he comes back. 49% chance he's gone.
I'm going to say 60-40 he comes back. The 60% being he comes back. I know you have said this as well, Tori. So I'm not trying to attack you here or anything. But can we please stop with the argument being that Cronin or that Chauncey is not a Cronin guy, that he didn't hire him? Have you not listened to Cronin talk about Chauncey for the last few years?
Wait, now we're going to put stock in Cronin's words?
No, I'm just saying, if anything I'm sure about when it comes to Joe Cronin, it's that he really respects and likes Chauncey Billups, and they're tight. I don't think if he's gone, it's because Cronin wants to fire or hire his own coach. I think he he thinks Chauncey and him are like kind of in it together, because it wasn't that long after he was hired that Cronin became the GM. It was a few months into that season. So I don't think Cronin, and they knew each other from high school. They both grew up in Colorado. I don't think that Cronin is looking at this like, oh, I want to hire my own coach. He doesn't even have a budget to hire a good coach if he wanted to, so he's going to have to pick a budget one. So I don't think that's an argument, man. I don't.
He is
think
factually a Chauncey hire. Okay.
An Olshey hire, yes, factually.
Or Chauncey is factually an Olshey hire. Okay.
Yes.
Just because you like a dude doesn't mean that you are just going to be married to him professionally forever.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think it when Cronin makes the decision, or Burt or whoever it does, I don't think they're going to say, well, we want Cronin to hire his own coach, because I think they think like Chauncey is just as much their coach as Olshey's.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really comes into play like people act like. At the end of the day, though, like, Cronin's not the guy who hired him. So Cronin's building this roster with his own vision. I guess he's maybe working with Chauncey, right? But Cronin likes specific types of players. He likes guys that can pass at front court positions. He drafted Klingon, who had some passing chops in college that have yet to be tapped into. And he he traded for Denny, right? And he seems to value players in that mold. I don't think Chauncey Billups is the right coach for players in that mold. I mean, how many times has Klingon actually made a read at the top of the arc to pass to a cutter? Oftentimes it's like, oh, go hand the ball off on the freaking wing. Like, you can even turn your back to the rim. You're not going to miss anyone cutting, because we don't do that here. And that's Chauncey. So I could see Cronin liking Chauncey, having a ton of respect for Chauncey. You know, the high school ties, he played against Chauncey. I don't think they really were high school ties. They just played against each other, right? Like, I played against Peyton Pritchard, all right? We don't have ties, you know? But it's like, all that can be true, and it could still just be like, all right, I want to hire my own coach, like somebody that I think is going to be more creative and use the passing talent on this team and really tap into a guy like Klingon as a playmaker at the top of the arc. Put Sharp in better positions to look good, right? Like that sort of stuff. So I see your point. I also think, you know, it's more so, it's not really about Chauncey not being his hire. It's more so about, does Cronin think he's the right guy for the job to pull off what Cronin wants to pull off in terms of the way the roster is constructed? And I have absolutely zero read on that. I could see Cronin absolutely thinking he's the guy. I could see Cronin absolutely not thinking he's the guy. Right? It's like our MO is defense. All right, we're an average defense this year. Okay, props. But also playing fast. What's our pace? Our pace is ranked 17th in the league. We have a below average pace. Okay? Now, some of that is because we grind out defensive possessions. We have the 12th slowest offensive possession length. But, like, where do we rank in terms of fast break points, chat? Can somebody tell me where the Blazers rank in terms of fast break points? I think it's probably average to below average, all right? So we've still, even with this team, struggled to build that identity. And offensively, it's not like we're creative. It's not like we get guys moving, right? So there's still some problems. And if Cronin sees those things as problems and has confidence in the roster he's building and thinks he can get a different coach can get more out of them, then I could absolutely see Cronin making the professional decision to, all right, we're going to let Chauncey go and we're going to go hire somebody else. And I don't necessarily believe that the Blazers don't have more budget for a coach than Chauncey. I mean, they allowed Joe Cronin to pay Jeremy Grant $32 million a year. So if they're willing to do that, are they willing to let Cronin have a little bit more budget to go find a coach if he feels like the team's going to be better and it's going to put more butts in seats and they might make more money on the back end of it? I think that's very possible.
See, I think everything you said is logical, but they are looking at it through the lens of the same reason they gave Cronin a thing. They're seeing improvement from Chauncey, improvement from the team. Overall, they think that means development and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think they're thinking of it as he's not running this fast-paced style.
Who's they though?
Like everyone in the front office.
Do you think Joe, or are you talking Joe and ownership, or who are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I think if ownership, they gave Cronin this extension. They obviously trust in him. They obviously believe in him. I think they would trust him to make the decision on the coach, no matter what that is. Because it's like, if you don't trust him to make that decision, why did you sign him to a big extension? Now, maybe that's just because you think he's he's a yes man and super controllable. That's possible too. But that's why I think it's purely 50-50. Because there was improvement this year, but at the same time, I don't think Cronin's dumb in terms of basketball. We can judge him against 30 other GMs and say maybe he's not a good NBA GM, but all these guys know basketball to the point where if you're Joe Cronin, you could see this Blazers offense of the half court and just man, we're not doing enough. We're not creative enough. We're not utilizing the athleticism off the ball enough. We're pace-wise, we're not particularly good. We're not an above-average pace, even though that was supposed to be a thing, and the roster is built for that. Cronin can notice all these things while also noticing how this team has improved. But it's if you're Cronin, it's all right, why has the team improved? You brought in Denny Avdia, and you drafted Donovan Clingan. And your young players got better because they're young. So I could see Cronin being they should have been better. I made them better this offseason. And these young guys are getting better. So that's the thing, is I feel like it's just either way it's going to be speculation, and either way I can see both ways being true. That's why I think it's purely 50-50.
Yeah, to me, I think they thought it was going to be better, but when you're talking about I truly think, so we talked about this when they traded Dame and stuff. I think they thought they were going to be better than they were last year and only win 21 games. And then they completely adjust their expectations to, we're rebuilding now, it's going to take time, all that kind of stuff. And then they have a 14-win improvement at least if they don't win another game. And I think just the fact that they were in the race for a play-in for some time, I think that exceeded even their expectations. So while I do agree that getting Denny and Clingan is the reason most likely for that, it's also a case where I don't think they expected to be this good. So I think Chauncey will ultimately get a little bit of the credit for that, and that's why I think it's closer to 60-40 than 50-50.
Here's the thing, you can give Chauncey credit and still let him go.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I mean, we all want him.
But here's the thing. While all that may be true, I think that's what gets it to 50-50. Remember, we were operating under the status quo that he's for sure gone, and this is a lame duck year. That's why, to me, it's gotten to 50-50, is because all that's true. Yeah. But still, all the other stuff is why it's all the same reasons why we were assuming that this was his last year at the start of the season too.
I think it's more likely that it's a mutual parting of ways, and he has, let's say that there was, I don't know, I didn't see who started this rumor, so I have no idea how true it is, but I heard a lot of buzz about the Nuggets possibly going after him this offseason. And
Nuggets, the Suns, I feel like the Suns are going to fire Budenholzer.
Yeah. Maybe.
They kind of have to, right?
So maybe it's as simple as he gets asked for an interview, or the team gets asked if they could interview him. He hasn't signed an extension yet, or the team hasn't picked up his option yet, or maybe they pick it up and the other team has to trade us a second round pick or something to get him. But I I think that's more likely. If he's gone, it's because he has another opportunity and the team is okay with moving on from him, and he's good because he's going to a better team.
Well, I think the question is like also the Blazers, if they let him walk, they're going to want to do it early enough where they're in play for other coaches. If they do it early enough, it's not like Chauncey's going to necessarily have his next job. But if there's enough interest out there in Chauncey in the early stages of the coaching carousel that's going to take place this summer, then maybe Chauncey just doesn't want his option picked up, and yeah, it could be a mutual parting of ways where Chauncey's salivating at the thought of coaching Nikola Jokic or Devin Booker, right? Or whoever, going to Phoenix, even though that's been a mess this year because we're assuming they trade Durant. If they don't, I feel like Chauncey could see Phoenix as an opportunity like, man, it can't get any worse, right? So I could only get there and make them better. And Ishbia is definitely willing to pay coaches. So I think that is a legitimate possibility for Chauncey. So yeah, I think there's a lot of dynamics at play here for him and for this front office. And it's just another reason why this offseason is so fascinating and why I'm really looking forward to seeing how things shake out, even though I have to worry that I'm going to be extremely disappointed. That's always in the back of my mind. But, going into this offseason, dude, there is so much at stake for this organization. There are so many things to figure out, from the vets to what you do with your pick in a loaded draft to the coaching decision, right, to maybe resisting the temptation to make too aggressive of a move too soon.
Yeah. I'm assuming this is going to be cleared up in the next week or two, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the early... We're going to have exit interviews in 5 days. Yeah. I think you'll be able to tell a lot from exit interviews. If Cronin doesn't want to comment much on Chauncey, I think there's two options. Okay, there's two ways this could go. Cronin doesn't want to comment too much on Chauncey's job status at all, and maybe we'll just sit here and say he did a good job this season, or he might kind of make it a little subtly obvious that they plan on bringing him back. Either way, he's going to. Even if they were going to let him go, I still think Cronin would talk about how Chauncey did a good job this past season. Now, the way it's going to play out is if Cronin says one good word about Chauncey in an exit interview, fans are going to freak out and say, oh, he's coming back, dang it. You hear what Cronin said. He said he thinks he did a good job. See, he's bringing him back. That's going to be the reaction. I think Joe Cronin would say nice things about him regardless if he was planning on letting him walk or not. Because it's more likely if he does leave, it's a mutual parting of ways, right? Respectful parting of ways, whatever, right? Where even after they part ways, Cronin would say nice things about Chauncey. That's just kind of who Cronin is. So I don't want people to overreact to anything nice that Cronin says in his exit interview about Chauncey. I think he's going to say Chauncey did a good job regardless, but I think you'll kind of be able to tell. I think we've heard from Cronin enough. I think you'll kind of be able to tell if you're not overreacting to just nice words about Chauncey. You'll be able to tell if Cronin intends on bringing him back or if it's a legitimate possibility that he'll leave. Do you get where I'm coming from with that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see, and we'll react to that on Monday night. We'll have a live stream right here on the main channel, Blazers Uprise Live, in the off seasons, going live Monday and Thursday nights. Between 9 and 9:30 p.m. We're just going to start at 9:15. That's the goal. So and we're going to break down exit interviews, and we're going to set the stage for the offseason next Monday. And that's going to be a big talking point on Monday is Chauncey. Maybe they fire Chauncey on Monday. Maybe they part ways on Monday. So we're going to have news, and we're going to have things to talk about this offseason. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I can't believe that's Monday.
It is wild.
Yeah.
It is wild. Do you remember the final stream from the old place, the drunk stream? Feels like that was not that long ago, man, but that was 6 months ago. 6 months ago. What a great stream. I need to work on my season recap highlight montage. Maybe I'll probably spend some time this weekend on that. Because I got timestamps. Shout out to Javon and Jake and Brendan for providing timestamps this season. That'll be a great way to start the recap, that stream. You know? Season recaps should just be Denny highlights. No, season recaps are like our stream highlights, but they kind of tell the story of the season. I didn't do one last year, the Dame off season, which I kind of regret. I've always said I maybe want to go back and make highlight videos from those time periods, just so we have kind of like a running timeline and a time capsule. So I definitely want to make sure, even if it's out a little later than it should be, I want to make sure to definitely do that this off season. Just because I think it's good to see like our reactions to moments of the season. And if you've never watched one of our old season recaps, we did one, or I think I did two. Where I did like an off-season recap and an in-season recap, and those were some of my favorite videos we've ever put out. So you can go back to those and kind of see the emotions from the season, which I think is pretty cool. Dro says, not too many rage moments this year. More to come next year. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I feel like I didn't... No, I feel like neither of us yelled once this season.
I yelled a few times.
But... I don't even remember. Dude, I literally am in like this big old house where now I can't... Like, it's easier to. And I don't even take advantage of it. Yeah. I'm not screaming enough, man. I've lost my edge.
I got a little worked up at the trade deadline, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you made Steven leave that stream really fast after the clock hit noon. That was funny. But
I also got I got mad after that Chicago game too. A couple games ago where they pulled Denny and Sharp.
I was surprised how mad you were about that.
It just didn't make sense to do that after everything else. Like,
yeah, but it didn't make sense to try and win that game either. So
it didn't. But like, why?
There's nothing that made sense in that position. Either you're trying to win a game you shouldn't try and win, or you do the right decision and tank. And in your mind is like, why did they do it earlier? Or why did they try so hard to win this game until now?
It would have made.
But that's kind of like this
sense.
Game was.
Down 14 in the fourth quarter to Chicago, it would have made sense to not bring Sharp and Tamani or Denny back in the game at all. So that's what they should have done, in my opinion. But
yeah, sure. But they tanked. They made the right decision ultimately.
Yeah, I guess.
At the end of the day. Like, that's why I was surprised. It's like, yeah, it's the right decision. Yeah, it's weird, but it's the right decision. So I was surprised by that one for sure. For sure. That'll probably make the recap as well, because that was definitely a monumental moment. But yeah, it's almost here, man. It's almost here. So we'll do a season recap, and that'll be fun. And then we'll have you covered Monday stream. Let's talk about, do we have any questions in the members-only Q&A, or are just our channel members missing in action today? Nope. No member questions in the members-only Q&A. Well, I just wanted to show that I appreciate you members and wanted to give you the opportunity, all right, just to show my appreciation. Yeah, if nobody takes advantage of it, nobody takes advantage of it. We can still do a full 2-hour show. I just wanted to show our channel members that I care about them, all right, that I appreciate them being a channel member. Okay, so that's what I did. I fulfilled my end of the bargain. It's up to them. It's their choice. But, next year, if we're more competitive, streams are going to be popping. Call-ins are going to be popping. It's going to be a fun time on the postgame show. Hopefully. We beat Denver and had 350 viewers at once in here. When we were 10-3, we were having 700, 800 people in the chat. So I'm looking forward to those days of being back. Hopefully we haven't fallen off.
Well, we still have the big streams to look forward to. We got the draft lottery, we got the draft, we got free
Yeah.
agency.
At the end of the day, I appreciate the people that show up when we're tanking. All right, the people that are watching now, the people that are in chat now. Okay, I appreciate those people because those are real fans still listening to content about their team that just tanked a game in Utah. So I have the utmost respect for those people. They are what keeps the channel going these past few seasons. So shout out to all of you. Shout out to all of you.
Yep.
Now, just real quick, this off season, we're gonna have those 2 live streams. It would be fun to do some streams with Steven. I know I think it'd be cool for you and Hoops Crush, you and Crushables to do a stream here and then.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. Your graphic is saying Cam Whitmore is on the Portland Trailblazers. Did I not update the? Oh, I didn't update the stats at the bottom. See, look at me.
Oh man,
Look at
slacker.
Me. Dude, these graphics. I definitely need a graphics person next year, or I need these to be coded because that's been the toughest thing is making these bottom ticker scores in the middle of streams. And not doing them all and that sort of thing. But, yeah, no, I think it'd be cool to do more than 2 live streams a week. And then just the video content. Especially in, like, June and the start of free agency. And then we'll have our watch parties for Summer League, which will be fun. I'll have a big TV in here that I'll be able to watch those on. And we'll react live. You know, who knows who we'll be watching. Thomas Sorber. Could you imagine my rage if they drafted Thomas Sorber in the lottery? Or Ben Seraph?
They're gonna say they had a lottery grade on him. It'll be like Chris Murray all over again.
Yeah. That's scary. I'm gonna stop thinking about that. But yeah, that's the plan this offseason. Let's talk about Cronin. We talked about it a little bit on our second channel. Cronin gets his extension.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to those who listen to that on the second channel.
Yeah. You guys get some insight earlier sometimes, or our thoughts earlier. But
oh, Eric Olson said he asked a question real quick.
Oh, we got a members question. Nice. All right, we'll answer this question. No, I don't even see it. A members only in the Q&A feature? I do not see it, man. Is my thing broken?
Just ask it in chat. We'll find it.
Or just use the Q&A. I'm on the pop-out chat on my second monitor, so I don't know if that messes things up. But let me try and bring it back to the main one.
I can't view it like you view it. So.
Oh, we got one from David Lester right now. Any buyer's remorse about the Klingon pick? Any picks after him you wish the Blazers took at this point? Thank you, David Lester. Honestly, not really. I think Khalil Wares looked good. Jared McCain would have made sense with like a Scoot and Sharp. I think if you're going to have any buyer's remorse, it's like Khalil Wares is really the one guy just because of his upside right now. But like I don't even think he's better than Klingon right now. I think he's better offensively, worse defensively. I have no buyer's remorse with the Klingon pick.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, we can nitpick at it. Edie has had some monster games, and people are saying it's because he's been unleashed with Jenkins being gone.
His defense sucks.
I still don't think that would have been the right fit for this particular roster. I think Klingon, he's showing up on a lot of these rim protection stats or anchor big stats, showing that he is near the top of the league as a rookie in those categories. And that's exactly what the Blazers needed, was that rim protection. It's the biggest gripe I've had with Ayton since he came here. He's supposed to be this like big athletic guy, and he doesn't protect the rim at all. And so getting him, I think, is a huge reason for guys like Tamani being able to be super aggressive on the perimeter, and that's kind of changed our defense. Mm-hmm. So, yes, you could argue Khalil Ware is a lot better offensively, putting up stats and things like that. You mentioned McCain. There's a bunch of guys who had some pretty good seasons, some pretty good rookie years taken after him. But ultimately, I think if we're trying to win a championship, we did need some sort of defensive presence in the middle. And Klingon is the only player that was drafted in a range that we would have picked in, or we're not going to pick a second round guy in the first round. So like, he's the only guy you can say fit exactly what the Blazers needed at the time. So I would say yes, it's still a good pick, and I believe in Klingon. He's a rotation center, whether that's as a starter long term or a backup. I do think he can be a rotation center on a good team.
Yep. Good question. And then we have a member message from... Oh, no. Blazer Fan Ebby became a starter member. Shout out to Blazer Fan Ebby.
Thanks, man.
1 year badge, so he remembered to become a member.
Yeah.
Eric also member for 46 months. Jinx. Says, what do you think about Dink Pate? Is Dink Pate an Eric Olsen guy?
I think he was asking about him at the last our last big board because neither of us had him.
I just think his feel is so bad that he's just not going to be an NBA player. He has some talent and some size and some athleticism that is intriguing, but I think you mix the lack of a shot without like the playmaking feel that is just kind of hard to teach. Like his decision making has been very bad, and yeah, he's playing in the G League before he enters the NBA draft, but I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I just don't think he'll have good enough feel as a playmaker where he has to become like 3-and-D. Defense was supposed to be a good trait of his, and he's struggled more defensively this past season than he was supposed to. So it's like, you're drafting a guy who's raw, who has some talent and some size and some like creation ability, but it's not like he turns the corner much. It's not like he shoots well from three. His defense is still kind of to be determined. It's just too many red flags for me. So that's why I don't have him in my top 60.
Yeah, he was up there for a lot of people because he has those traits that a lot of people think lead to potential stardom, and that's being a bigger guard who can handle the ball, pass a little bit. But his shot is just so bad, man. He cannot shoot at all. Maybe he figures that out someday. I think, maybe, if a team takes a chance on him in the second round, would I think it's like an egregious pick? No, I don't think so. Because you are kind of just hoping at that point that he reaches some sort of potential. I forgot what game it was. There was a game. Was it? Did he play in the Hoop Summit or?
He played there was a game All-Star Weekend.
Oh yeah, it was All-Star Weekend. That's what it was. Thank you. Yeah, he played in that for the G League team in the All-Star Weekend, and he had some like the full spectrum of moments. Like I was like, oh man, this guy sucks, and I was like, oh, that was a pretty good move at some point too. So he had some good moments, some bad moments in that, but overall, I just think he's way too consistent with the ball. Hasn't really panned out as a playmaking bigger point guard like some of the other. Like if you compare him to, I know it's kind of unfair, but like Jaeger Demon, like 6'9", averaged a decent amount of assists despite his shooting troubles and stuff. So like I feel like he was still showing some things despite not playing well for a good portion of the year. Yakuchon is the same way. They both kind of showed like a creativity that I don't think Pate has. So maybe someday, like I said, he figures it out. But I'm not going to bank on someone who's been in the G League for several years now panning out or like just figuring it out all of a sudden.
Yep. Alrighty. Let me go back to the thing. Did I end the Q&A?
I don't know. Did you?
No, I'm in my streaming software. All right, those were the questions we had.
Man, no one.
Blazer fan Ebby says, so how are we feeling about our young backcourt going into next season? You just got to trade Simons, man. You just have to trade Simons this offseason. You got to start Scoot and Sharp going into next year with Denny, with Camara. I mean, maybe you bring Camara off the bench if you luck into Cooper Flag, right? But I mean, like if they got Ace Bailey, moved up to 4 and got Ace Bailey, I'd bring Ace Bailey off the bench for his rookie year, right? That should absolutely be the starting lineup next year. I think Scoot will take another step this year. I think he had a really good middle part of his season, made some positive steps in a bunch of areas that he needed to. Kind of struggled a little bit at the end of the season. I kind of wish he was playing in games like this. But he struggled a little bit before he ended up getting that concussion. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that just shows him what he needs to continue to work on. And given the improvement he made going into this year, I'm confident that he'll work this offseason and improve his game. I also think under a different head coach and given a starting role, Scoot could just naturally kind of take off. I don't think he's necessarily the best ISO player right now, but like running a system and running a creative offense and even being used a little bit off the ball as a cutter, playing a little bit more in the flow of things. Still, of course, running his pick and roll and getting some catch-and-shoot threes, which he did a pretty decent job at this year, made some strides there. I think that is the best system for him. His stats this year were better when he started than when he came off the bench. And I think with a new coach who's just willing to consistently start him, consistently play him, give him the keys, I think that'll give him that extra little bit of confidence and that extra little juice to really take the step next season to maybe being like an 18-6, 18-7 guy per game, right? He's pretty close to that per 36. It's just he needs more minutes to average that per game, right? This year he was 17 points, 7 assists per 36, right? So efficiency, 54% true shooting. Last year was 49%, so a little improvement there. If he's solid efficiency and he's able to get 17 and 7 per game, maybe in like 31, 32 minutes, I think we're pretty happy about that as a year 3 for Scoot, because he's still going to be 21 for the next half of next season. So I feel pretty good about Scoot going into next year. I feel pretty good about Sharp. I think Sharp just needs to make more threes and be a little bit more consistently assertive, but I think he's taken some strides there this season. I think it just comes down to being able to knock down threes because 31% is not going to cut it.
Yeah, going back to Scoot real quick, the one thing I was really encouraged about from this season, well, not one thing, but like the thing I was most encouraged about was how he responded to Chauncey calling him out. And he agreed and started playing better, right? And that is a good sign, in my opinion, that he's coachable and is going to work on some of the things that he needs to work on, understands those and things like that. So I thought that was a point where he could have maybe wilted a little bit or gone back to being like, oh man, like I'm coming off the bench, this sucks, whatever. And he kind of stepped up from that point. And he did, struggle at times after that. It wasn't always perfect, but I do like the fact that he acknowledged that what Chauncey was saying was correct and that he needed to adjust and seemed to be willing to do that. So that leads me to believe that he can see another jump next year, and hopefully that's the case. With Sharp, yeah, I mean, he's got to be more consistent as a shooter. I don't know, it seemed like he got hot, but at the beginning of this game, it felt like he was just shooting a lot of bad shots. There was a fast break 3. He didn't even try to go to the hoop. He just pulled up and bricked a 3. And man, it's like you're an explosive athlete, great finisher most of the season. You're on a break. Why are you fading back to the 3-point line instead of going in for a lob or a dunk? So those are things I want to see him clean up a little bit, not settling for the 3-point shot, keep attacking. And then the obvious thing for both of them, actually, we saw Denny this year. I think this was crucial for Denny taking that next step is getting to the free throw line. I think it's right around 5 times a game for Denny. And Scoot and Sharp, if they can get up into that 5 free throw attempts per game mark, I think either one of them, or if both of them happen to do it, I think that would lead to both of them being able to take a similar step to Denny offensively and really make this a tough team to guard if you had 3 guys who were all capable of getting the free throw line. And it starts with just attacking the basket more often instead of settling for jump shots.
Yep. Also, I think starters set the tone for like how you're going to play, your identity, right? And then kind of the bench follows after them. Most of the time, it's not always true, but I generally think, starters are going to set the tone for a game. There's a comment in chat from Adam Smits that I agree with. Says, starting Scoot at point guard clearly will improve our pace. Add Denny in there and we cookin'. I think if we want to be like a top 10 pace, like fast break points, that sort of thing, I think starting Scoot and trading Ant is better for reaching that identity. I think Ant slows the ball up a lot, and if we want to play fast, I think it makes sense to have Scoot in there as a starting point guard. I think it makes sense just because he's the point guard of the future, right? And it's the young core. It's the next iteration of the team. But just for identity purposes, it's that. But then also, like, Scoot at times this year got to the free throw line a lot. Denny got to the free throw line a ton all year, especially lately, right? I think Sharp has another step he can take there. I think with those guys, we should be getting to the line a ton. And I think that's part of what could make us an average offense is if we're just getting to the line at like a top 5 rate. I think that should be a goal. Right? I think the one thing with this team is you don't have enough shooting, but I think like if your identity is get out on the break, get downhill, get to the rim, get to the free throw line, you start Scoot, you have Sharp, and you have him like maybe under a different coach buy into that a little bit more, or maybe you run more stuff just to get him going downhill, like him coming off curls, going downhill a little bit more, whatever. Find ways to get him playing that style of ball, and then you have Denny. I think that starting lineup can really make strides towards that being their identity offensively, and then you try and find some shooters to come off the bench that you then sprinkle into the lineup in, with your subs to make sure you have enough shooting on the floor behind those guys. That's where like a Colin Knipple could come in if the Blazers can get him in the draft. So that's how I view the next iteration of the team. I think it would be good to have a backup 5 that can shoot the ball and then be like okay defensively, not even necessarily rim protector, just positional defense and team defense, be okay and help that shooting and just be like a change of place to Klingon starting. And that could be an option where if you want to space the court more, maybe he's a little bit more mobile, so maybe he can defend on the perimeter a little bit more, then you have your stretch 5 behind Klingon as a change of pace. But like your starting lineup with Scoot, Sharp, Denny, Avdia, and Klingon, I think they should be a top 10 defense starting lineup-wise, and then you're just trying to get them to be an average offense, and I think that's how they do it, is getting out on the break, getting downhill, getting to the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, can they all work with Phil Beckner this season? Like a lot of stuff we're talking about, he's big on like being honest with people and learning how to turn your immaturity or your inexperience into good things and things like that. So I'd love to see them. It doesn't necessarily have to be Beckner, but like someone who is similar to that, where they're not just going to be like, oh, you're so good, Shaden, you're so good, Scoot, like someone who really get after him this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wish we had Dame to work out with these guys and lead these guys, you know what I mean? Like Dame's mentorship and that sort of thing I think would be good for these young players, but obviously like That
I
ship has
don't
sailed.
I don't think Scoot's going to play the rest of the season. I mean, there's no point to have him play. We have the longest people sitting out with concussions apparently, but
Yeah.
and there never was an update on Aiden. Was it?
Nope.
Was it in like early March he was supposed to have a reevaluation?
Yeah, and I
or
told
something?
guys like I feel like he's not gonna play
Yeah,
one more time the rest of the season. Like this is just perfect to set up their tank, even though they tanked late. Like
it's been over a month since that day.
yeah,
Um,
watch him return next game.
right.
That'd be funny.
They play everyone.
Just to troll us. Yeah, everybody's back. Rand's back.
Just to piss off Eric and Tori. There we go.
I mean, it would be cool to see Scoop play one more time this season. Not gonna lie, but it'd just be like what it would. I would kind of laugh. It would just be the greatest way to just completely troll our fan base.
At least they finally listed Jeremy as out this game instead of freaking doubtful. Like we know he's not playing Blazers. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You're not fooling anyone. But yeah, I think the key for Scoot and Shaden, knock on wood, they're going into this offseason healthy. And Shaden has had his issues with injuries. You know, he had that core surgery last summer and then had the shoulder thing pop up again towards the end of the offseason and missed a little bit at the beginning of this season. Remember, everyone was worried about him being injury prone. So thankfully he's been healthy most of the season and played a full year. But I think it's really crucial that those guys have a full off season. I don't expect them to like play summer league or do any of that stuff, but at least, you can work on your game this whole off season and not have to worry about being injured and not being able to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Leave a like on the stream. Shout out to Dro. He says 100 likes, only 47. Yeah, leave a like on the stream. Easiest way to support the channel. Don't make me make a poll. I'll make a poll if I have to, because polls work, man. The polls work. But we're going to take a look at the Western Conference standings here in a second. Once I have this graphic done, we'll pop it up on the stream, and we'll take a look at the playoff picture just because it's the wild, wild west, man. It's the wild, wild west. We'll talk about potential series a little bit, I guess, and that'll be the rest of the stream. But yeah, if there's any other members' questions for the Q&A, otherwise we'll just take questions from chat. We got one from Adam if you want to read that one off.
Someone call in.
Yeah, it's okay if they don't.
I can't see the member messages like you can.
Weird. Shout out to I'm Adam. He says, how high are you on Sharp as a future piece? Because I'm still skeptical. Like what is a future piece? Like a star or just like a piece of the core? It's definitely a piece of the core. I guess it just kind of depends on like what you're viewing him as. I think it's like as a top 20 player, I'm definitely skeptical. I think he has the upside, but I'm definitely skeptical. But in terms of being like a pretty good starter, I'm confident he'll reach that point.
Yeah, to me, I think if he gets the minutes, he's definitely on pace to become at least a mid-20 point per game scorer in this league. And but
is it like a Cam Thomas, Jalen Green type of, mid-20s? Because
maybe, but I mean, he's shown the ability to pass. He's been our point guard the last couple games. I don't remember how many assists he had tonight. How many assists did he end up with?
He ended up with 5. On the season, he's averaging 2.7 per game. Yeah. Jalen Green, for just comparison's sake, is averaging 3.5. Cam Thomas is averaging 3.8. So, is it like an Anthony 22, like a Cam Thomas 24, Jalen Green type thing? Like, those guys are good players, but I think most people would probably have him outside of the top 50. I think that's kind of the question for Sharp. I think he can become that guy, but like, can he become a level above those archetypes?
Yeah.
And like, what would it take to be a level above those archetypes?
Yeah, but I mean, since Scoot's been out, Anthony's missed a few games. I feel like he's getting pretty consistently 5 or 6 assists a game. Like, I feel like he's been doing a better job of playmaking than even Anthony has all year in the games he's been tasked with like a similar role, if that makes sense.
I mean, Jalen Green kind of did the same thing when Şengün was out last year down the stretch.
Yeah.
He had a 13 assist game.
But Cam Thomas hasn't ever showed that.
Well, yeah, I mean that's Cam Thomas, but I mean, let's see. Is there a month in his career that Cam Thomas has averaged 4 assists a game? Let me just look at this season.
I'd be willing to bet no. Unless he only played
in December this year, he averaged 5 assists per game.
How many games?
He averaged 25 points flat, 6 rebounds flat, 5 rebounds flat.
Did he play one game and that just happened to be?
That's wild. The numbers are flat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
played one game. Okay.
He played one game in December, one game in January, and one game in February.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know he missed a bunch of games.
Like, what about last year? Because last year was his breakout year.
Did he even have a single assist last year?
He had it in the month of March. He
I'm
averaged
joking.
4.3 assists.
Okay, I stand corrected. Sorry.
I mean, he doesn't pass unless it's as a last resort. But you know what I mean? It's like Sharp's probably, what's Sharp averaging in the month of March, let's say.
What?
Sharp averaged 2.7. He's averaging 4.8 in April in 4 games, like make it 5 after tonight. So like that's cool, but it's like I don't know. It's the rest of the season he didn't have a single month where he averaged more than 2.8 assists per game.
Yeah.
Like
he's got 5, 5, 6, 5 the last 4 games. So.
Yeah. So it's good lately. I think we're just like happy with the flashes, but at some point it has to be more than just flashes for him like to become a level above those guys, unless he's averaging like upper 20s efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one of those two things has to happen for him to be, I think, a like legitimate star and a level above those types of scores. And maybe he can. Maybe he can't. The thing is, though, he's a worse shooter than those guys right now, right? Like, so I think that's the key. I think he can be a better downhill driver than both those guys. He might already be. I think it's the 3-point shot. The playmaking has to really pop, and then, he'll get better at the little things, dribble, drive, game, that sort of stuff. It's just tough to say whether he can become like a legit star. I think he has the upside and the possibility. It's just I've said it. It's hard to take that step.
Granted, it was against Utah, so you never know. But man, he had some nice moves down the stretch in the clutch. Got to the rim a couple times, seemingly pretty easy.
Yeah.
I like I said, I know it's against Utah. It doesn't matter. But I'm saying like it. If he could ever figure out his shot consistently from the 3-point line, because then he could play off ball more. But like right now, it's almost like he's better on ball than off ball, which is crazy. Like, and that's one of the reasons why I want a new coach is like get him off some curl screens and stuff.
Yeah.
Do some more.
Yeah, I agree.
Things.
Doesn't it feel like he kind of eats against bad teams though? And struggles more against better teams. Which is like always going to be the case, but kind of like the Blazers this year, it's like more than normal. I don't know if there's a stat that corroborates that or disproves that. It just, I don't know. It feels like, oh yeah, he's going to play really good against the Jazz and the Hawks and the Raptors and those types of teams. I'm sure he's had good games against good teams. Like it's not like he hasn't had good games against good teams. It just feels like when he's playing against teams that aren't as good, it's easier for him to turn the corner, so then he'll like get in the flow and get going downhill. But against good defenses, he's not the most physical guy and he doesn't have the quickest first step. And when he can't like consistently kind of turn the corner and get downhill against that type of defense, at some points it seems like he checks out and stops trying, and those are the games where he'll shoot more threes than twos, or those are the games where he'll disappear for a whole half. I think that's also maybe a thing to focus on next year.
Well, I think it kind of lines up with us tanking versus going for it too, though, because I mean, a lot of these tanking games have been against bad teams at the end of the season here, so or teams missing players. Um, Whereas earlier in the season when we played good teams, like Anthony's playing and Scoot's
Yeah, I mean,
playing
I
and
felt
stuff,
that
so
way
it's
even
like,
before the tanking.
yeah.
I think
No,
somebody brought it up too, somewhat
but
recently,
what I'm saying is I'd be interested to see, like,
like what the splits are.
let's say we were playing, I don't know, name a random good team or something. Like OKC, I guess is, let's just say we're playing OKC in December. They're playing their whole team. We have the lineup we put out tonight.
Yeah.
Does Sharp get 37, or does he like falter in that situation like you're saying? Like
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because he's
Well,
basically forced to having to take a ton of shots right now and be aggressive, or if it's because we know
yeah.
he disappears at times when he's not on the ball. So
Yeah.
uh,
I can go down the line with like opponents and how many points per game and what like efficiency, true shooting percentage from like the highest point down right now if you want to. So
no, I mean I know
well, I just want to go through it myself even just to see if this is true. All right. So Atlanta this year, 32 points per game, 58 true shooting percentage in 2 games. Okay. The next highest is against Toronto in 2 games, 26.5 points per game, 63.6 true shooting percentage in 2 games. Next is Washington, 26 points per game, 56.3 true shooting percentage in 2 games. Next is Boston. Now this is in 39 minutes per game, which is his highest. Well, he played 40.9 minutes a game against the Knicks. But 24 points per game, okay, pretty good. 68 true shooting percentage, so okay, played good against Boston. The next team is Brooklyn, 23 points per game, 67.5 true shooting percentage. The next team is New York, now 41 minutes per game, basically, 22 points per game, 57.6 true shooting percentage. Next team is New Orleans, 21 points per game in a single game. And then the teams after that, 20 points per game, Chicago, Dallas, Sacramento. And then like his worst just points per game totals is all we're looking at. You can't necessarily just judge based off points per game totals, but like his worst totals, 3 games against Phoenix, 12 a game. 3 games against Memphis, 13 a game. 3 games against Clippers, 13 a game. All on pretty bad Clippers, it was okay efficiency. Yeah, I don't know if that's like any different than normal players against bad teams or good teams. Like it does seem like skewed a little bit more than you would expect.
Yeah, but a lot of like the top few teams you mentioned, we played all those teams recently. It seemed like in that taking scenario.
Toronto, yeah, Washington, I believe we're decently healthy. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You'd really have to like boil down every single data point here and then try and find some sort of statistical correlation and then
I mean we know he's inconsistent, so I don't know if that might correlate to that.
Yeah, I think it's
the Boston thing seems promising.
Yeah, I mean, this is one team out of many. I don't think I don't think just like looking at it at the surface, it's enough to come to the conclusion that it's actually a thing. I think it's possible that it's a thing. I think you'd really have to like mathematically boil down these numbers in a way where you could like prove some sort of statistical correlation. And I'm just not gonna do that, because it's like you have to boil down the correlation between playing good and bad teams and then the correlation between like this recent stretch where he's been the lead guard versus when he's not been the lead guard to try and find some sort of number that stands out. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the games where he kind of ends up floating is like always the games against good teams where it's like, man, he disappeared. Whereas like Utah, of course he destroyed Utah. Now, his good stretch, remember that really good stretch he had earlier in the year? Let's go look at that stretch.
With 37?
He had 33 against Minnesota, 32 against Atlanta, Remember those back-to-back 30-point games? He had a 27
His
against
breakout.
Denver. He had a 25 against San Antonio, 27 against Utah, 23 against Dallas. Yeah, it's going to be too noisy to say, but it's something I've thought about.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hopefully that consistency takes a jump next year. That'd be really, really helpful.
Eric Olson says, like every team's fans compare their guy to Green, like he'll easily eclipse him. Underrating Green sounds about right. I mean, Jalen Green's a good player, but like he's not close to being a star. He's not a good defender. He will pass a bit, but like I think part of it is like he hasn't improved in the past 3 years. He hasn't improved. You know, he's an okay 3-point shooter. He's like efficiency-wise, 54 true shooting percentage basically the last three. Like every year is between 53.8 and 54.8 true shooting percentage. So he's slightly inefficient. You know what I mean? Like slightly inefficient volume scorer that doesn't do much else. He's still a good player, but it's like that's not the... You would hope that Sharp would be better than that long term. And people say, Green's barely 23. Yeah, but like, why hasn't he improved the last 3 years? Because he was 21 a couple years ago, and now he's 23, and it's like he's still kind of the same player.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see them in the playoffs this year. Like, no one is giving them a chance. Pretty much everyone's considering them to be like a first round
Yeah. Well,
fodder, even as a second seed. But
we're going to take a look at the standings here in a second because I am almost done with this graphic. We'll take a look at this Western Conference picture. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
how fun would it be to be in the mix of that right now? Not necessarily with this team. I'm just saying, like in general.
Yeah, man. I remember the days when we were in the mix of it, man. And people didn't want to play the Thunder in 2019, and a bunch of people were doomsdaying about trying to lose the game, and I would have sat there like I wanted to play the Thunder, and part of the reason was like you have a legitimate pass to the Western Conference Finals. You don't have to play Golden State as early, and then who knows what happens with Golden State in the first couple of rounds, right? Like I'd rather play the Thunder. We're better than the Thunder. Like that's what I would have said on that postgame show after that game 82. I would have said, let's bring it on. I want the Thunder. I don't know why people were scared of them. That's what I would have said, man, on a postgame show. And look what happened. So that's why I wish, we had the channel earlier. But
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're the 3 seed, you shouldn't be scared of an opponent. If you're a top 3 team in the West, you shouldn't be scared of who you're playing.
Mm.
Yeah, like sure, it'd be if you're gonna have teams you'd rather not face. I didn't think that team was that good. All right, whoops, wrong page. Let's look at the standings. Okay, let me put the West in here. All right. This is not updated. Okay, how long will this take to update? I'll update it. Anyway, I'm just gonna leave it up while I update it.
And what if we were Rockets Uprise right now?
Rockets Uprise. Disgusting thing for you to say.
No, I'm just saying, what can you imagine? No, I'm not saying we're Rockets fans. I'm just saying, like, if we had a chance on this channel, with all we've done with it, we haven't had any sort of success like this. So, like, what would happen if we had all of a sudden we're the second seed or something? I can't imagine how poppin' this would be.
Well, also, I think Rockets Uprise is, Uprise fits the term rocket, all right? Like, our Rockets Uprise. Not like somebody else's Rockets, okay? I'm not gonna go there. Our Rockets actually uprise. Anyway, let me. I'm gonna post
Oh,
this.
oh. What are you doing?
Oh,
Are you
so
tweeting?
no, I'm not tweeting. I'm
Oh,
trying to get this graphic up. So I make graphics on my laptop because my computer, when I run streams, is too slow. Chat, and I have a cloud that's connected to both, and like my files, so I can easily like access stuff. But sometimes stuff that I save in the cloud doesn't transfer over to the other computer, so then I have to like post it somewhere and then download it, and it's just a whole process. Okay, this is just the back end of my struggles. So we're gonna post this. I'll just post this in the main Discord so you guys can see the updated standings if you're in the Discord. I'm gonna end the call in. Nobody's calling in.
all right.
And then yeah, we will pop this up on the stream. I promise.
Of course, we'd rather be the Thunder. I was just saying, going from where we've been pretty much since this channel started to, like being a bona fide playoff / championship contender would be crazy
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah. So right now, you would have Dallas versus Sacramento in the 9-10 play, and you'd have Golden State versus Minnesota. For as well as Golden State's played with Jimmy Butler, with Steph Curry, man, they're still only 7th.
Yeah.
You have the Grizzlies after firing Taylor Jenkins. You have the Nuggets after firing Michael Malone. Right now, you'd have Thunder, Timberwolves, which I think would be interesting. Because the Timberwolves have been playing better lately. You got Anthony Edwards, right? I think the Timberwolves would win 1 or 2 games in that series. I think that, I don't know, the Thunder are dominant, but I think that would be a little bit more competitive than your typical 1 versus 8, just because the 8 seed is Minnesota. The 8 seed is just better than your typical 8 seed. You have Houston, Golden State. I'll just say this right now. I'm taking Golden State in that series. I know everybody's doubting Houston, but like, I'm taking Golden State in that series. You'd have Lakers, Grizzlies. It'd be fun to see the Lakers play the Grizzlies in the playoffs again, but like I'm just going Lakers.
Yeah.
You got LeBron and Luka, right? And then you got Nuggets, Clippers. That would be a fascinating first round series. I think that would be a very competitive first round series. Now this could of course shake up. Right now, like 4 and 5 is tied. Memphis is a half game behind, so maybe you get like Memphis, Denver, and a battle for LA between the Clippers and the Lakers. That would be fun. Kawhi versus LeBron.
Just a day ago, it was Lakers Warriors in a 3-6. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would be a bloodbath, man. Like,
Yeah.
like
Okay,
LeBron and
6-6.
Luka versus Steph and Jimmy Butler. I'm kind of rooting for that
I
to
want
happen,
that, yeah.
dude. I'm kind of rooting.
Maybe
for
not in
that.
the first round, but yeah.
I mean, who's to say they even get the opportunity to face each other later in the playoffs? Like, first round, at least you're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
At least you're getting it. But like, here's the thing about the play-in. I think without any play-in, you would have these top 8 locked in, right? And I think teams would rather have the 7th seed than the 6th seed. I think teams would rather face the Rockets than the Lakers. Round 1.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, no one's taking the Rockets seriously right now, even though they're the 2 seed. It's kind of like the Grizzlies a couple years ago.
Yeah. But like,
And the Kings,
Still,
the
though,
Kings
like-
are the 3 seed. Yeah.
yeah, would rather face the Rockets than the Lakers. So it's like, all right, get the 7th seed instead of the 6th seed. But with the play-in, it's like, you don't want to have to deal with that. So it's made teams want to get the 6th seed, even though they'd probably rather face the Rockets than the Lakers in the first round. I think that's the interesting part about the play-in.
Well, the thing is, right now though, you could still get as high as 4, even like that.
Yeah, true. I'm just saying, like, last day of the regular season, who knows, like, how it breaks,
But-
like, shakes out. But like, you don't want to deal with the play-in, even though it'd be an easier matchup if you win that first playing game, because you might not, and then you would end up facing the Thunder if you had to win your second playing game. So,
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Would you rather be the 6th seed right now, or let's say you lost the play-in and got the 8th seed?
well, I'd rather face the Lakers than the Thunder, of course.
Yeah.
I'd rather avoid, Thunder. 14 games up on everyone.
Right. So, do you want to say anything about the Laker game tonight?
Oh. But how they did his tribute before the game, like the Blazers should have when they had Dame
Yeah.
return for the first time, but didn't because they're the Blazers. Yeah. Yep. And I guess we need to touch on
Well, so I had a tweet about it, and it's exact. I got a couple of reactions that are exactly what the whole point of the tweet was, and that's there's a certain people, and it's always like the same group of people, Tori,
yeah, it's always the
that
same group of people.
just defend
Everything.
whatever decision, whatever happens at all costs, and
Even
then
if they
just
have
call
to make
us,
something up.
and then just have to tell us we're just being negative, and we just are looking for reasons to be mad and all that kind of stuff. It's dumb, man. It's like,
So,
dude, no, they botched it.
Yeah, I'll just give you an example, okay? So this one of these guys that you're talking about tried to tell me that the Blazer game, they were the second game of the TNT broadcast, and maybe they didn't want it to feel rushed with the tighter, unpredictable game start time. Which just makes zero sense. Zero sense. Like, number one, the tribute is for Dame in Portland. It's not for freaking TNT. Okay, even though, like... But number two, TNT will move back start times all the time, and obviously wants to milk that, considering that was the only game in Portland that TNT did all season long. The only TNT games for the Blazers the last 2 years have been Dame's return to Portland. Right? So it's like... the guy said when the first game goes long, you miss the start of the second game, and with TNT games, they usually start those on NBA TV. I mean, I've seen plenty of times where the second game is the tip-off is delayed due to the first game going a little bit long. Okay, almost all the time they start on TNT, but basically the excuse is, yeah, the Blazers didn't do it like they should have before the game when it makes sense to do it, because they were worried about the off chance that their game might start on NBA TV instead of TNT, when the only reason TNT was there was literally for the tribute. And TNT has pushed tip-off times. You know what I mean? It's like just the most baseless, like, wild logic just to try and find a way to excuse it.
And I'm sorry, but if you were on social media this afternoon when the Luka stuff happened, that's all anyone was talking about was Luka's tribute and him crying and the reaction, giving LeBron a hug afterwards, like all that stuff. Like, you don't think TNT would have wanted all that attention of like showing the video and all that kind of stuff like before the game? Like, that would have gotten a lot of views and stuff. So
and you even said they didn't announce them last in lineups, and the guy we're arguing with said, how do you know the reason for that? Maybe it was Dame's choice. Like, just throwing crap at the wall just to try and, you know what I mean?
So, yeah, you were there, right, Tori? You were at that game?
I was at that game.
Yeah, I was there too, and it was like everyone was expecting him to be announced last, so it was kind of like awkward that he was announced
started
third or whatever.
Announce it when you thought it was going to be someone else. Yeah,
and then so like the crowd kind of cheered, but it was like, wait, why did they already announce him and stuff? And
and then like and then it's like, where's the tribute, right? Because like almost every other organization does it in introductions.
I mean, some do during the game like we did, some do beforehand, but like Westbrook got one beforehand, and Luka tonight got one beforehand.
But it's like, if you're not planning on doing a tribute, you know he's going to get a round of applause. Why wouldn't you make it last? Why is it like, okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to announce the other stars? It's just like silly, right? But like, oh yeah, maybe Dang told the Blazers to announce him second. Like, what? You know, we gotta, some of these people have no shame, man. Like, if you're just throwing out assumptions and random stuff to excuse the organization, like, fine. The guy later tried to tell me that, like, I was basically making an assumption that they were being intentionally malicious with it. And it's like, no, like, they just should have done it before tip-off. Like, Dame should have been the last guy. That's what they should have done. And the only way you can excuse it is if you just like try and assume the most random crap, like they were trying to avoid being on NBA TV, and maybe Dame wanted it that way. It's just like making stuff up to try and defend the organization. I hate that. Like, it's a pet peeve of mine, and this fan base does it too much. You know what I was thinking today, Eric?
What's that?
I was thinking if the Dallas Mavericks this season were actually the Portland Trail Blazers, where they like traded Luka. I was thinking, I was like, would Blazer fans be chanting "Fire Nico," or would they just like accept it lying down and excuse it? I kind of feel like the Blazers fan base would have had a lot more people just kind of like take that and just find a way to excuse the front office, and they wouldn't be sitting here in the stadium chanting "Fire Nico" or anything like that.
I mean, you get all those same people and be like, "Oh, Luka can't win a championship. We needed to trade him."
Yeah, like
his contract.
Yeah, we're a better team now. We needed defense. Like, there would have been too many people that would have found a way to just excuse it, and then with the rumors that were obviously from the Dallas side of things, they're like, Luka drinks too much beer, he weighs too much, he's too fat, blah, blah, blah. All that crap, like, there's a section of this fan base that would have just ate that up and ran with it. And
I mean, it depends.
It's the same thing with Dame. It's the same thing. Dude, people blame Dame for Cronin giving Jeremy Grant his freaking contract.
Yeah, I still saw that argument today from someone.
Which is freaking stupid. Which is just so stupid. So stupid. So it's like, yeah, no, there would have been a lot of Blazer fans out there that would have kissed the boot if the Blazers were the team with Luka and then traded him after going to a finals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they would have defended Cronin if he had Luka and traded him like that.
Oh, Reddit absolutely would have. Elizabeth Allen said it's Dame's fault Jeremy got his contract thing on Reddit today. Yeah, that is the Cronin Colt headquarters. And they just, I mean, there's so much blasphemous crap from that page that's just like, they are the cronies, man. I do not understand. Like, if you like Cronin and think he's done a good job, that's one thing, and I can completely respect that opinion. When you start, like, any bad move, finding a mistake where it's like 4 years later, he's still cleaning up Olshay's mess, and the contract he gave Jeremy Grant, no, that was Dame's fault. As if he had no idea that Dame was going to ask out after doing nothing that offseason, when Dame made it pretty freaking clear, and we were talking about how it was going to be a thing 3 weeks before free agency, how Dame was probably going to ask out, especially if they did nothing. You're telling me that the GM is excused because he had no clue and then somehow got suckered into giving Jeremy Grant that contract because of a guy that was about to ask out? That's how you're excusing the GM and trying to pin it on Dame. Like, it's just blasphemous logic and just an assumption just to try and excuse the organization. Just a completely wild assumption based on absolutely no substance to try and excuse the organization. I hate that. Like, if you think Cronin's done a good job, you should be able to tell people why without making completely wild BS assumptions. And that's what Dame's the reason Jeremy got that contract. It's all Dame's fault. That's just BS.
Yep.
But those people hate us because we'll call that out. So, I'm glad. I'm glad that Reddit does not like us because Reddit. There's just a lot of people on that Reddit that don't like anything logical. They love themselves some Joe Cronin, and that's all that matters.
I know there was a lot of them when Cronin signed that extension were specifically happy because it would have made us mad, right?
Dude, I went into the Rift City Reddit Discord like 10 minutes after that news broke up. Like, I bet I'm going to see a post about us, and I literally did within 10 minutes.
Oh, nice. But it was really
And it was
good.
basically like, these Blazers Uprise guys are going to freak out. And number one, I didn't even freak out, but somebody else was like, when don't they? And I was like, the Denny trade? The Klingon pick? Like, literally the last offseason? Nobody hears when we like a move, though. Everybody, if we don't like a move, that's when it gains traction. So, I guess it pays to be negative, Eric. I guess. But, yeah. Like, someone has the balls to make the first comment I post today of a new fan asking for Blazers podcast, and he recommended Blazers Uprise. I bet you he got like 15, 20 downvotes.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Shout out to them, man. Shout out to those people staying strong on Reddit, showing their support, man, because that is a war zone.
Man. As for the Cronin extension, I guess we could finish by talking about that for a few minutes. I said this the other day, but I don't think he's done a good enough job of managing the cap. I feel like it was a missed opportunity. This is not hindsight. Tori and I both foresaw the new CBA being set up to where teams were going to get stuck trying to get under aprons and being hard capped at different levels and things like that. And there were going to be teams that were rewarded for being in a position to take advantage of those teams needing to cut salary or facilitate a trade and things like that. And I feel like when you start a rebuild, tank for 4 years, and trade away a top 75 player in the NBA, you should not be rewarded or praised for saying, but you got Denny and Tamani. Like, that should be the bare minimum for what you should expect for 4 years of tanking and trading away someone like Dame. So, yes, it's okay. He's done a fine job. I have no problem if you think he deserved an extension, but I think he could have done everything he's done and been creative enough to add assets, particularly more assets than he's done, and also put ourselves in a position where we can do stuff like sign a mid-level exception or trade for players using unbalanced salaries and things like that, whereas he's been too far up against the tax since he's been GM to really make any significant moves, and hasn't been able to sign any free agents in his tenure outside of Gary Payton, who didn't even want to be here from the moment he signed.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. People don't understand, or they just don't care about that, and that's where it's like, you're the idiot.
Sure. Yeah.
For even thinking about.
You were so worried about that last summer, and look how easy he got under the tax.
Well, it's just like, okay, could have done that move and then some. Like, you still are not gaining anything out of your cap situation when you could be, just like a lot of other rebuilding teams do, in terms of accumulating assets, which will give you more margin for error when trying to build a contender where you don't have to have everything perfect. And that's the thing, is like, we're in a position before with Dame where like everything had to go perfectly in order to have any chance of contending, and it's like that rarely happens. So we never did, right? Elizabeth Olsen says like, that page, those people, they literally do not care about having cap space. Even when they've been explained about gathering assets using it, they just block it and claim, we can still move Grant this summer, and it's the same, yeah. And if they don't move Grant this summer, it'll be, we can still move Grant at the trade deadline. And then if it's clear we're stuck with Grant, then it's like, oh, it's not even Cronin's fault we're stuck with him. It's Dame's fault, right? So, yeah. Yep.
Not even Cronin's fault.
Yep.
Not Cronin's fault. He decided to trade for Ayton.
When he's cleaning up Olshay's mess, blanket excuse expired, then it's Dame's fault, and then it'll be something different after that if it continues to be an issue. But my point about Cronin is like, all right, this was a good offseason for a litmus test for him and his ability to sell the vets, to finally trade freaking Jeremy Grant, to finally trade Anthony Simons. It makes so much sense to trade them right now. Given the progress of this young core and how good this young core looks, it makes so much sense to trade those guys right now, even if you get back pennies on the dollar. Even if you get back less than maybe you'd hope to get from them, there is an element of addition by subtraction that if Cronin recognized that and was willing to do that and just, if he got a second-round pick and an expiring for Jeremy Grant's salary, I think that'd be pretty good at this point. I'd be happy with that, right? Like, the bar is very low for selling those guys. So I thought this was a perfect litmus test for him to choose one of two paths. Either make the, sell these players. You don't even have to get back much for me to think it's a good move because of that addition by subtraction element. Or the other path, which he's taken the last 3 transactional periods, is just kicking the can down the road in terms of the vets that are already on this roster, right? Because, yeah, they got Denny. I mean, I guess you could say they traded Brogdon, but when it comes to, like, Ayton at the deadline, when it comes to Simons the past year, last offseason and the deadline, when you have 2 young guards you're invested in, when it comes to Jeremy Grant, especially when he had a little bit of value last offseason, but you didn't trade him. When it comes to Robert Williams, you could have flipped right after you got him, could have traded this past offseason. I know he was coming off his season where he was hurt, so I get that they didn't, but you could have traded him this past deadline. You still didn't. Supposedly you wanted an unprotected first for him, that to the point where they might have turned down a protected first. Like, you still have him on the team, right? You didn't. You gave away Nickeil Alexander-Walker for nothing in the past. You gave away Norman Powell for nothing in the past. You gave away Josh Hart for a late first-round pick, which is fine, but then you drafted Chris Murray, who has not panned out as that first-round pick. It's like, man, outside of a superstar, do you know how to sell anything? Do you know how to actually trade players away in a way that makes sense? Because outside of the Dame trade, which he was, like, forced into, he has not proven to be good at selling pieces. So I thought this offseason was the perfect litmus test for him to either finally do that, or maybe some of his supporters would finally realize, like, man, he keeps kicking the count down the road. Man, he still has Jeremy Grant. Man, he's not getting rid of anybody. He's not doing anything, right? Like, so I don't like this extension for him because I thought it should come after this offseason, after he passes this litmus test. Like, why do it now? It's just like, it doesn't even matter what he did this offseason. Like, they're happy enough because I guess he got Denny and Camara out of trading Dame. But, like, I don't think this extension was about, this ownership group believes in Joe Cronin's ability to build a contender. I think it was more so like he's maybe a yes man and they can kind of control him a little bit, and he's not going to get the team in the tax, and he's going to kind of play it safe, and, they did get a little bit better this year, so, like, yeah, we might as well just extend him. And that's what this extension felt like.
That's the reason why they signed him without interviewing anyone else anyway.
Yeah, like, this dude has not been, like, challenged for his job at all. They didn't interview or compare anyone to him, even though he had no general manager experience. They brought no competition in interviews for that job. They just gave it to him. And then, like, just gave him an extension that, I don't know. I mean, you can make an argument it is merit-based based on a couple of moves, but it's, like, not enough for me. And I thought this offseason was going to be a perfect test for him, where, like, if he made the right moves this offseason and traded Jeremy Grant, even if he didn't get back much in terms of assets or anything, just gained flexibility, like, got off that contract. And if he traded Ant, and even if he got back like a late first-round pick, if he made those couple of moves, then I'd say, okay, you know what? I'm happy that he's committed to a path. I'm happy that he finally sold and stopped kicking the can down the road. Where if you gave him an extension after that, I would have sat there and been like, you know what? I've disagreed with a lot of moves, and I, don't necessarily have the most confidence in him, but they've taken the right steps the past 2 off seasons, even though it hasn't been perfect, even though they maybe missed out an opportunity to extract more value. At least they have direction. At least they have a plan. At least the players he's going after are the types of players I like. Avdia, I like Klingon. At least he's going after players with a specific style so they can build a specific identity. Like, there's good enough things where I wouldn't have really complained all that much if it was after this offseason and if he passed this offseason. So I just don't like that it happened now. I would have rather have seen him succeed this offseason and doing what he's supposed to do and then get it. And if he fails this offseason, then, like, I don't know. Like, maybe this is a little extreme, but the rebuild is kind of screwed if he goes kind of all in on a Domantas Sabonis or makes a move like that. And there's a legitimate issue if Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, and DeAndre Ayton are still all on this team next year. So if he gets an extension and then one of those two outcomes happens, I am really worried.
Yep. We got a one-name person who just joined one day.
You always shout him out. You cannot resist shouting out said person. I think Cronin will finally trade Jeremy Grant once you stop shouting out this person every time he shows up.
You think that's how it works?
I think that's how it works, man. I think that's how it works. So, that's my litmus test for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Like, we know. You know
what's crazy? I think if we traded Jeremy for, like, Tobias Harris or something, like, just a random player, like, that was on an expiring contract, I think most people would be like, oh, these guys are going to crap all over this trade. I think they would, like, most of the people who don't like us would have more of a problem with that trade than we would. Like, we'd see the value in it, you know?
Yeah,
and,
you're
like,
getting out from a contract that is turning into a negative contract, and you're making sure you have flexibility next offseason when Ayton's contract comes off the books. Because Tobias Harris's contract would also come off the books, and you can bring Harris off the bench, you know what I mean? Like, you could even buy him out, like bench him, whatever. You can do whatever with him, right? Because you're going to get off that contract in the offseason. But that's the thing. Once, like, if they made that type of trade, then it would be like, oh man, look at all the flexibility we have this upcoming offseason because of this move. This is such a good move. Then all of a sudden they would understand it. Then all of a sudden that would be the talking point. Whereas, like, that didn't matter at all before, but now all of a sudden it's a good thing. That's how it'd go. You know that's how it'd go. So, if Detroit wanted him and was willing to offer Tobias Harris for him this offseason, I'd take that in a heartbeat. I'd take that in the heartbeat, because my worry is like, oh man, you have Jeremy Grant on the bench for the next 3 years. He's clearly our third best forward, but it's like, man, we're paying him $32 million, so we got to play him somewhat, because otherwise, like, we can't have this dude making $32 million a year to not play. So you're gonna force feed him minutes over maybe some younger options that you want to develop that might be close to as good as he is. But you got to prioritize the guy you're paying $32 million to. You got to play him somewhat off the bench. Or they just freaking start him next year over, like, Sharp or Scoot. You know what I mean? Like
can't wait for that to happen.
Those possibilities make it so, like, I'm completely okay with, like, trading him for Tobias Harris because Tobias isn't expiring. Like, yeah. So, yeah, I'd be thrilled with that, because that's why this offseason is fascinating, is what happens with Jeremy Grant. That's, like, one of the biggest things is, like, could he really still be on this team next season? If he's on this team next season, what the hell do they do with his role? You paying the guy $32 million to come off the bench? And if so, it's like, are you going to pay a guy $32 million to play 20 minutes a game? Or is it going to be another year of, like, playing him ahead of younger players when you're a young team just to try and showcase his trade value and rehabilitate it? Like, all those just sound so asinine if they keep him. But it's like, if they don't keep him, how the hell are they going to trade him? If they get back anything for him, even just an expiring, I'm happy. It just solves issues. It's just addition by subtraction.
Hopefully we have that conversation.
Yep. All right, we'll take care of that. Reddit today said play Jeremy against the Lakers to showcase him for better trade value over the summer. Yeah, because the Lakers are going to decide to trade for a $32 million a year long-term contract because of one game when we're tanking. It's great logic. I mean, dude. It's painful. Shout out to Dro with a $10 Drono. Says, imagine owning a basketball team while having a star willing to be there. The star can bring others to play for your team and you reject his wishes. Then you ship him out and play reverse psychology. Imagine that. Thank you, Dro, for the $10 Drono. I appreciate you.
And I'd like to once again shout out Todd Clark for calling before it happened that the next time Jeremy has a good game, he would not play again the rest of the season. And so far, that has held up.
What did he do his last game?
I don't know if it was his last game or the game before his last game, but he had one good game, and then they pretty much shut him down right after that.
Let me see. When was it? Oh yeah,
might not have been exact, but
no, it was his last game. Yeah, so he played in the first 4 games after the All-Star break. Okay, then missed 4 games, then came back for 2 games, played at OKC, had 4 points in 24 minutes, but then his final game versus Detroit. Speaking about trading him for Tobias, his final game versus Detroit, 25 points. 6 for 12 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, and 7 for 7 from the free throw line. Right? Now, he did only have 2 rebounds, 1 assist, with 2 turnovers, and was a minus 10.
We don't talk about that stuff.
But those 25 points, though. It was his best. It was his second best game score since December 13th.
What was better than that?
He had an 18-game score on February 1st against Phoenix when he had 20 points, 3 assists, 1 rebound, 5 for 10 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, 9 for 9 from the free throw line. Was an 18-game score versus 17.5. I don't know. He was a plus 16 in that game. I don't know if that matters with game score.
Yeah, I don't know.
His best game of the season, according to game score, was 22.9 against San Antonio. He had 32 points, was 8 for 10 from 3. I kind of vaguely remember that game when we lost. We lost to them at home on December 13th. He has a negative 3.5 game score. The game before that game, he had 3 points on 1 for 12 from the field with 4 rebounds, 1 assist. I can't do that again. No, he has an even worse game. February 20th against the Lakers, first game out of the All-Star break, had a negative 4.5 game score. In 30 minutes against the Lakers, he had 3 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 turnovers, 6 fouls, and was 1 for 12 in 30 minutes against the Lakers, and we lost the game by 8. We'd probably win that game if he doesn't play.
If he has a good game on Sunday, it'll be different.
Yeah. Yeah,
they'll forget all about that.
Forget all about that game, and they'll remember this game. I can't deal. I can't cope with games like that anymore, man. He had a 2-game stretch where he played 50 minutes, and in those 50 minutes, he had 8 points on 3 for 19 shooting on December 21st and 23rd. 4 rebounds in that span and no assist in those 50 minutes. He was a legitimately bad NBA player this year.
Were we going to do another tankathon?
Yeah, we might as well, because the odds have changed, so we'll do that in that other stream. Jeremy was a bad player this year. I don't know how any team justifies trading for that contract this offseason and wanting that contract. You got to hope that Detroit has some nostalgia. You know what I mean? That's really what it is. Because it's what was the excuse before? It's it's not a good situation. The team's not that good. He's not really playing for much, yada, yada, yada. But it's this year, it's man, the team looks better without him, and he was on the 11th place team in the West. You know, they're not that bad. They won 35 games. It's really tough to sell that, I think, as he was on a bad team, and that's why he was held back. If anything, he held back the team. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll tankathon and then we'll end the stream. The Blazers are now... Let me reset this. Tied for 9th best odds with the Houston Rockets via the Phoenix freaking Suns. Because they've lost 8 in a row. Because they are a poverty franchise now. A poverty super team. That's what you call that. A poverty super team. Anyway, let's just see where we end up. San Antonio and Houston has better odds than us. That's disgusting. And OKC might end up with a better pick. We got Dallas at 14, moving down a spot. Sacramento, you get a top 4 pick. Some of these tankathon sims have been wild lately.
Wow.
13, you have Chicago. So we're going to be 11th. 12, you have Miami. And at 11, you have your Portland Trailblazers. At 10, you have Houston via Phoenix. And at 9, you have San Antonio. At least they didn't move up. We've had a sim like this very recently where every team moved down a spot. We got Toronto at 8. We got Brooklyn at 7. We have Philadelphia at 6. And we have Charlotte at 5, moving down 2 spots. At 4, we have Sacramento Kings moving up 10 spots. At 3, we have Utah. At 2, we have Washington. And at 1, we have New Orleans capturing the flag. How many sims will it take for us to jump into the top 4? Sacramento is top 4 on the next freaking sim as well.
What?
They're 4th again. So
ethical tanking.
And let's do it again. Toronto, Philadelphia, Washington, Brooklyn. All right. It's going to take us forever. We're going to be here all night. Will Sacramento get top 4 again before us? No, Dallas will, though. Dallas will.
Yeah, Dallas.
All right. San Antonio's top 4. Still no Portland. We're screwed. We're cooked. Houston's going to get it before us from Phoenix. Okay, I'm just going to call it now. Yep, there it is. Number 1 pick for Houston via Phoenix. Still no Portland top 4. We're cooked, man. All right. This is just disgusting.
Sucks so bad.
Oh, now you got San Antonio 1 and Houston 2.
Oh, gosh. Yay. Utah 3.
Oh, this is disgusting stuff, dude. This is real gross stuff here, man.
At least OKC didn't get filmed.
Dude, this is obscene, man. Yeah, this is obscene. Yay, there's Portland at 4, but San Antonio's at 2. Because of course. Look at Portland's odds top 4, 16.9% because they're in a tie with freaking Houston via Phoenix, man. Oh, Phoenix needs to win a game. So here's what's up, Eric. Assuming Portland loses their next game, okay? Phoenix plays San Antonio next game. So if Portland loses their next game, they're tied with Phoenix going into the final day, but only a win behind San Antonio, so that might turn into a 3-way tie. Or they'll be alone in 9th if they lose their next game. They'll be alone in 9th or have a chance of getting tied for 8th. So Portland just has to lose their next game. Hopefully the Warriors can beat us. Go Steph Curry. The one time I'm rooting for you to cook the Blazers in Portland. Anyway.
Kings played the Kings played the Suns the last game, right?
Yeah.
The hope would be that they're locked into 9th.
Do they have the tiebreaker with Dallas?
I don't know.
Let me go to playoffstatus.com.
If they're locked into 9th, then the Suns could win that game, I guess. But even if Kings don't care about that game, they might.
I mean, it says the Kings have a 92% chance at 9 according to playoff status, so that makes me assume that
tiebreaker,
they have the tiebreaker. So let me click on them and we can Kings schedule. Let's just search Mavericks. So they beat the Mavericks once, they beat the Mavericks twice, they beat the Mavericks 3 times. Okay. So the Kings have the tiebreaker. So if Dallas loses their next game or the Kings win their next game, then the Kings would not be playing for anything against the Suns. The Suns, I mean, aren't playing for anything, but they're not playing to lose because they don't have their own pick. And it would look really bad if their pick ended up being top 4, so maybe they would, try not to. I mean, but why would they want to help out a Portland team, I mean, but you don't want the Rockets, dude. Imagine the Rockets. This is gross. This is gross stuff.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm glad we did Tankathon again. I'm glad we got to see San Antonio and Houston 1 and 2. Wemby plus Cooper Flag, damn. Yeah, I mean, it'd be OKC versus San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals for the next decade. Might as well just enjoy playoff experience. Dude, if they got Flag, it'd just be like, all right, fine, go for the playoffs. Just go for first round appearances. At this point, whatever. I don't like that mindset, but also there would just be a defeatist element to that's the path we're going. And I mean, how the hell do they get Cooper Flag with the pick that should have been ours, the odds that should have been ours? That would just be such punishment and pain for no reason for us Blazer fans that whatever, man, at that point. So it's definitely going to happen.
We just would have to tank next year and hope that one of those guys at the top is better.
Sorry to... It was Sam Dooley that gave me the wood for Wemby, right?
Yeah, Sam Dooley.
Yeah. If they get Cooper Flag, I might have to burn that.
Yeah.
Because I would just think that would be a bad omen. A bad omen. I would feel like I would need his permission too, though. I don't know. Nah, that's a good memory. That stream was fun. I wouldn't burn it, but I'd want to. Who's more allergic to the rim, Trey Johnson or Ace Bailey? That's a good question. That's a good question. That's a great question. See, that somebody asked that question, I know you pay attention. Because both those guys are kind of allergic to the rim. I don't know who's more allergic, though. Probably Ace. Who do you think is more allergic to the rim between those two guys, Eric?
It's pretty close. Yeah, I'd probably say Ace.
It'll be fascinating to see if those guys can ever become downhill scorers at the rim. Because both could be super, super good if they could, but it's they're just, I don't know. It'll be a good it'll be 2 good cases from the same draft to test that archetype of prospect, if that makes sense, going forward. Tori, y'all want Coach Bud? We will gladly give him to you. No! Go away. No, we don't want Coach Bud. No. You want Chauncey? We'll give you Chauncey. Anyway, there's a great L tonight, as Brandon says in chat. What's up, Brandon? We're ending the stream. Shout out to BetUSTV. Anything else, Eric?
Thank you for watching. Appreciate you all. Hope you all have a good night. Next game is Friday night. You still planning to do picks on Friday too?
Yeah, that is the plan right now.
All right, so picks Friday afternoon, game Friday night, post-game show afterwards. Hope to see you there, second to last one of the season. And then Sunday after the game, we'll all celebrate the season being over, and hopefully we can all do it together.
Yeah. Yep. We'll have that early stream on Sunday, Picks Against the Spread on the second channel. Then we'll have the post-game show. We'll recap the season. We'll probably be live for a while. We were live for a while tonight. Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I guess we're just enjoying our final hours of post-game shows.
We went overtime just like the Blazers and Jazz tonight.
Yeah, it's this game started at 6 and we're live at 11:30. Crazy stuff. But we will... I'm looking forward to Monday. I'm looking forward to that live stream. I'm looking forward to XA reviews. I'm looking forward to the offseason starting. So appreciate you guys that have been hanging out with us on the post-game shows. We're going to do some fun stuff on Friday and recap the season on Sunday. 2 games left. The Blazers tank. The Blazers lose in overtime. Tank Monty Camara misses the game-winning layup in regulation, man. He really helped out the Blazers' cause today. He really wants to capture the flag. Just sucks that he's been an all defensive guy all year, because that definitely has hurt our case to capture the flag. And I'm being sarcastic. It's been awesome that he's been an all defensive member. If he's not on the team, I'm going to lose my mind. That's my final statement. I'm out of here. We're out of here. We'll catch you guys live again on Friday with 2 streams. One on the second channel, one right here on the main channel with the post-game show. And until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!